Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I'm a fantastic beasts master at Hogwarts. Chapter 81. Did Xiaoyi's feet start to become a little asymmetrical? The shrunken Xiaoyi was a little uncomfortable being looked at by Li Zan over and over again. If this person was not Li Zan, definitely let him know what is the wrath of birds and snakes. So he broke free from Li Zan's hand with a little force, and Xiaoyi stood on the ground and chatted with his younger siblings there. Li Zan observed that, compared with Xiaoer and the others, Xiaoyi's standing posture and feet the angle seems to be a little off. So Xiaoyi is going to take a different path. Li Zan thought a little bit dumbfounded. I can only say that your brother is still your brother, you really do not take the usual path. It seems that Xiaoyi is going to become that unique handsome boy. However, Li Zan still used the authority of the small world to firmly lock the mutated power of the birds and snakes on there. 433, otherwise as they become stronger and stronger, his own small world will be lost. If it was an ordinary person, there would be no way. After all, the mutant power of birds and snakes already involved a little bit of rules. In the world of wizards, this is something linked to legendary wizards. But as the controller of a small world, this ability is still there. Feeling as if there was an invisible layer of confinement covering their bodies, the birds and snakes swayed uncomfortably from side to side for a long time, and slowly adapted to it under Li Zan's forced request. Feeling that the power of the birds and snakes has been restrained, the putting over there dared to come over. Recently, because of the changes of the birds and snakes, they are not afraid to get close to the birds and snakes at all. The birds and snakes didn't know why the puddings ignored them at first, and they were a little unhappy. Later, when they realized that they would hurt the puddings, they kept a proper distance. Now that we can play together again, of course we are very happy. The Yulank Iron Belly Fire Dragon, Tai, lying on the ground with the whole dragon on the side, looked at the little one in front of him playing there with some boredom. That's right, this fire dragon was finally named by Li Zan, Tai. It is very in line with its temperament, hard as iron. Well, forgive the name Li Zan. Li Zan almost planned to call the Iron Belly Fire Dragon an old iron. After all, the age of the place is not young. Thinking about it later, it seems that every time I charge, I yell, "Old Tai, give me it." There are so many dramas, so it's still Tai. Tai doesn't have much objection to this. He has lived for so many years and has endured so much torture. Now he is indifferent to everything except life and death. Now, what can make him feel turbulent, except only as food? That's right, I didn't expect it. The power is actually understandable, because it was so miserable before, but the power is not strong enough. If you can wave your hands like Li Zan, the world will change. The vicissitudes of life, who would dare to make their own ideas? At the same time, it is also very grateful to Li Zan in its heart, and it also hopes that its power will be stronger and able to protect Li Zan. After recognizing the master, Tai knows that Li Zan is omnipotent in the small world, but outside the small world, he still can't do anything. It takes time to grow slowly. That's why it didn't hesitate when it needed Tai's power. It hoped that Li Zan would save it from hell and give it a new life, so it only wanted to protect Li Zan, even if it was sacrificed, own life. As for food, that was its only hobby. It used to live in an underground vault, let alone food, and it would never fill it up. Those greedy and stingy goblins would not spend a lot of money to buy fresh meat for it. They all buy expired and low-priced meat that goes bad quickly to feed it, or even very little, which can only sustain life. As for being full, don't even think about it. So the aftermath of that day, after it ate the food that Li Zan cooked for it, it thought how could there be such delicious food in the world. It and Bird Snake have also tried to make it by themselves, roasting whole beef, roasting whole pig, grilling fish, etc. It seems that it is not difficult, and they have also asked Li Zan about the seasonings Li Zan usually uses. But it was still not as delicious as Li Zan's, so I gave up the idea later. So the current life is really a dream life for Tai. With food and drink, even if he does not exercise in the small world, he can feel that he is getting stronger. The feeling of being able to become stronger even while lying down, and feeling the spiritual energy continuously penetrate into the body, is not to mention how happy it is. Tai can even feel that as time goes by, the more aura he absorbs, the changes in his body will gradually increase. This is the case with those little guys over there. In a small world, It can be soaked in the ocean of aura all the time, so it's not surprising that such a mutation occurs. Li Zan didn't know that Tai, the fire dragon leaning behind him, was thinking so much, but he was looking at the black snakes playing with the velvets over there. In fact, when he came to this world and started collecting magical animals, Li Zan discovered that many magical animals in the magical world are very similar to the strange beasts in the Dongguang myths and legends in the previous life. Some Li Zan thought it was a degenerated version of a strange beast, like a bird and a snake. This time their changes reminded Li Zan of two strange beasts in the Book of Mountains and Seas, Sour and He Fei. The real name is Fat, Pickle into the method cannot type. Word. Acid and, a monster with 4 wings, 6 eyes and 3 legs, and a snake-like bird. Once this kind of bird appears, it means that terrible things will happen. Compared with Sour and Sour, the name of fertilizer is bigger. After all, the appearance of fertilizer is accompanied by drought. For example, in ancient times, many droughts were suspected to be caused by fertilizer. Fei is also a bird with a body like a snake, but what is different from Suan Yu is that he has 6 legs, 4 wings, and a head that is not much different from that of a bird and snake, with both eyes and sharp beaks. So, do you think it is very familiar? Think of the bulges on the birds and snakes, as well as their own arid attributes and strange breath, which are undoubtedly evolving towards sourness and fatness. Call it evolution, but Li Zan prefers to call it atavism. According to Dongguang's records, the center of the world is naturally Dongguang, and other countries have slowly migrated and developed over time. Mythical animals like birds and snakes should have acid and fat blood in their bodies, but as their aura gradually decreases, and degenerates from innate aura to acquired aura, these mythical beasts can only be forced to follow regression, in order to adapt to the new environment. Now the aura in the small world is sufficient, and they are slowly recovering their original demeanor again. As the days passed, the changes in the birds and snakes became more and more obvious. For example, the 4 traces of Xiaoyi have become more and more like the outline of the eye sockets, and the color of the body is also slowly changing to fiery red, unlike Shower. They still maintain their original blue-green color. Shower's legs have gradually become shorter, and at the same time, 2 bulges have become 2 underdeveloped legs, but under such changes, their food intake has increased a lot. Fortunately, Li Zan caught a magical animal like Hawklap in the Forbidden Forest before. This kind of magical animal that breeds very fast is perfect for rations. Coupled with the addition of shapeshifting lizards, Panglok, and Hawklap in the previous small world, the area has also expanded a bit, and the creatures have also increased a lot. In addition, Li Zan told the magical animals not to always hunt for wool in one place, and to wander around the whole small world, so as to maintain ecological balance and sustainable development. However, as those ordinary animals live longer in the small world, they become more and more intelligent, so now Tai and the bird and snake spend a lot of time hunting. Not only birds and snakes are reverting to their ancestors, but other magical animals are also evolving and becoming stronger. Although fire dragons come later than birds and snakes, relying on their huge size, the aura they absorb every day is a few times that of birds and snakes. There is no change in weight, and there is no major change in body shape, but it is not as bloated as the general Yulank iron belly. In comparison, it is more well-proportioned, with obvious muscle lines. Hualong, 9 out of 10 of his abilities are in the character of fire. Now the temperature of Tai's flame has been greatly increased, and now it is slowly changing from the original red-orange to yellow-white. You should know that Tai's flame was just over 2000 degrees at the beginning. Don't think it's too high. Generally, the temperature of a lighter is 300 to 500 degrees, and the temperature of a match is even higher, 1000 to 2000 degrees. The flame temperature of a dignified fire dragon is 2000 degrees, which is not considered high. Now in the small world, Tai's flame is getting stronger and stronger. The red-orange flame can reach a maximum of 3000 degrees, and the yellow-white flame can reach 4000 degrees. The other fantastic animals, like billywigs and bowtruckles, haven't changed much, maybe they haven't been in the small world long enough. But like Shisho and Purongrong who are still growing, their wisdom has improved a lot. But because the bowtruckles have become smarter, their strength has also improved, mainly in terms of physical strength, so they are no longer restricted to only guarding a few trees. The restriction can be said to be people who own a small forest. I don't know if the growth rate of the forest in the small world in the future can keep up with the growth of the bowtruckles. Finally, there is the billywig worm. The original billywig worm was very gorgeous in appearance, with a blue body and a sapphire-like luster, but now it is even deeper. It will not make people think that it is a living creature, that it is a beautiful statue. But compared with its body, the slender stinger at the bottom of the body is daunting. Originally, the stinger had the ability to make people dizzy and float, but now it shone with an iron-gray luster, indicating that it was becoming more rigid. Moreover, as they got closer, they could still smell the faint scent wafting from the stinger, which made people a little dizzy, and the power of the stinger also greatly increased. Li Zan felt that the stinger might not be fatal, but it is also possible to become a vegetable. Immersed in drunkenness, dreams and death, unable to wake up. But at this moment, Li Zan didn't stay with the magical animals in the small world, but watched the battle between Hermione and Penelope over there in the room of requirement. It is too eye-catching for two women to fight in the academy. After all, there is basically no such performance in Hogwarts now. Little wizards study, play, Quidditch, or ask each other about magic in their spare time, but basically there are no such desperate battles, as if they are afraid of something. However, in the current magical world, after the mysterious man was killed by the savior Harry Potter, there has been no major fights. Therefore, in such a peaceful environment, what Li Zan and the others did seemed a bit abrupt. So after Li Zan came to the response room and searched for a round, he brought Hermione and Penelope to the response room. Both girls are knowledgeable people, so naturally they have seen some records about the room of requirement, especially Penelope, who is already in the 5th grade, has naturally heard the legend about the room of requirement. Unexpectedly, not long after Li Zan entered the academy, he found this place. What a different man. Disarm you, stupid. Seeing Penelope and Hermione fighting each other in the specially set forest scene, Li Zan didn't make a sound, but acted like a 6th child, whether to throw a tripping spell or a soft leg spell at them. The purpose is to increase their vigilance. In many cases, there are more than one enemy, and it is quite normal for them to be secretly buried in a battle with Death Eaters. Sometimes when we fight against others, we can't completely ignore the external situation. Although there is only one enemy in front of us, we still have a little precaution. After all, there are too many phantom tanks in the 6th Voldemort now. Of course, novices still have to concentrate on fighting, otherwise they will definitely lose sight of one thing and lose another when looking left and right. Li Zan didn't ask Penelope and the others to reach this level from the beginning. In the past, the two of them were used to fight alone, from the beginning of the battle in the arena, and then to the changes of various environments, such as forests, colleges, classrooms, shopping malls, planes, etc. After getting familiar with this kind of training, Li Zan made it more difficult. Not only them, Li Zan is also the same. Li Zan is not just a nanny, Hermione and the others are growing up, and Li Zan is the same. This has also tempered the cooperation and tacit understanding between the two of them, so now the relationship between the two women is good, which naturally makes sense. After all, they share the same hatred and have the enemy, Li Zan. Judging from the spells used by the two people on the field, Hermione is more talented with the disarming curse, or this spell is her natal spell, and Penelope is naturally the stunning curse. Because of regular practice, the two of them are already very proficient in the stun spell and the disarming spell. Soon, Li Zan felt that the two of them would be able to cast spells silently on the stun spell and the disarming spell. Sure enough, things like magic still have to rely on practice to continuously improve, especially high-intensity exercises like Li Zan's. The improvement is faster. Okay, let's take a break. The battle between Penelope and Hermione ended with Hermione losing in the end. There was no way. Hermione, who was only in the 1st grade, was better than Hermione in controlling the spell, the speed of avoiding the spell, and the advantage of borrowing the environment. Not to mention that there is an absolute advantage in magic power. Although it is not necessarily true that the older you are, the more magic power you have in your body, but at least before you reach adulthood, this is generally the case. The magic power in the little wizards' bodies will slowly increase with age, and when they reach 18 years of age, the growth rate will slow down, just like a person's height. Of course, it doesn't mean that the magical power will not increase after adulthood. It will still increase, but the amount will decrease, and it will vary from person to person. And it's not the only method. there are various potions, treasures, and the most common self-training that can increase magic power. Just like a person exercising, he uses magic constantly. The more he uses it, the more active his magic power will be, and as time goes on, the more and more magic power he will have. Hermione and Penelope sat down next to Lizon, took the water glass from him and drank it. After all, the battle just now was not so easy, especially when you have to fight against each other all the time, and guard against Lizon cold gun. Although Hermione lost, she didn't feel unhappy at all, and it wasn't the first time she lost. Hermione, who was so strong when she lost for the first time, was of course very sad. But later on, she really got used to losing. That's not to say, after Lizon enlightened and analyzed her, even though Hermione still felt a little sad in her heart, the fighting spirit in her heart became stronger. The difference in magic power between her and Penelope is an objective fact, just like the height difference between the two, and in that respect, Hermione noticed Lizon's small eyes, so she planned to consult her mother after returning home to see if there is any way let yourself exceed this scale at that age, too. But even though she couldn't beat Penelope in the 5th grade, Hermione can be said to be invincible in the 1st grade, even in the 2nd grade, and can survive a few tricks in the 3rd grade. For Penelope, after practicing for this period of time, plus she was already smart and good at playing, so now she is at the level of an ordinary graduate. Don't think that Lizon's teaching is not good. First of all, they have only started practicing with Lizon for 2 months, and they don't do such high-intensity exercise every day. They still focus on learning in daily life. Only on weekends do they have this kind of exercise. I usually focus on familiarizing myself with spells. Sitting down, Lizon looked at Hermione and Penelope. Hermione should still be a wizard apprentice, but Penelope has already reached the level of a wizard. By the way, this is the level division Lizon made in his heart. During this period of time, according to Lizon's observations, and some data collected before, Lizon roughly divided the strength of current magic world masters. Of course, this is just Lizon's personal opinion, and this is also the subconscious practice of an old bookworm. For some reason, there is no division of wizard strength levels in the magic world, which is quite confusing. This makes Lizon, who has been a bookworm for more than 10 years, unable to bear it. How can there be no classification? So he collected information by spending his own money before, and recently observed at Hogwarts, and he has come up with such a rough set of grades through discussions with his dean, Professor Flitwick. Lizon mainly divides the level of wizards into 9 levels. The first stage is the wizard apprentices just mentioned. This level covers a relatively large range, from the newly awakened little wizards to those who have not graduated from the 7th grade of Hogwarts. Students are included. Of course, this refers to the general process and is only an approximate range, otherwise Lizon would not say that this is a rough division. After a wizard apprentice, one is a wizard. Lizon defined this level as a standard for Hogwarts graduates who graduated normally. As long as they can successfully pass the OWL exam and graduate successfully, they can basically reach the level of wizards. After all, the full name of the OWL exam is the Ordinary Wizard Level Exam. After the wizard level, you will be a great wizard. This Lizon corresponds to the NEWT exam. After all, the previous OWL exam is required by every student, but the latter NEWT is not. For example, the entry standard for the Aurors of the Ministry of Magic is that NEWT must have at least 5 good and excellent results. After the Great Wizard is the Elite Wizard. The division standard of this level is Auror, and this range is wider. After all, Aurors are strong and weak. In fact, it can be said that most of the professors at Hogwarts are also at this level, but everyone knows that there are weak and strong professors at Hogwarts, so Lizon used the strength of Aurors as the standard. Behind the elite wizards are the Sun, Moon and Stars, and the Morning Star Wizards, corresponding to the level of the 4 heads of Hogwarts, which is why Lizon said that the scope of elite wizards is relatively wide. Then there is the Bright Moon Wizard, which corresponds to the current Dumbledore, Grindelwald, Voldemort who is not perfect, and Nicholas Flamel is also here. As for the 4 people in their prime, they are the Yaoyong Wizards. If Voldemort is fully resurrected and gets 7 Horcruxes, they will reach this level. In the era when Dumbledore and the others are old, no one can stop them. Got him. This is also the reason why Dumbledore implemented the Savior training program, because he could not regain his prime, and now there is no one in the wizarding world who can fight Voldemort. Whether it is myself, Grindelwald, or Nicholas May, they all have to admit that they are indeed much older. Of course, I didn't know that Lizon was still there, otherwise I wouldn't be so troubled and have to arrange so many rounds. Behind the sun, moon and star is the legendary wizard. This level Lizon only puts one person, the legendary Mei Lin, and the last Dharma god, Good Zhao. This level is too far away. In the current wizarding world, the Morning Star wizards who have reached the top 4 masters can already be said to be among the small group of people who are at the pinnacle of the wizarding world. So for Lizon's help, Penelope, who is about to take the OWT exam, naturally accepts it, and other people like himself have no chance. And Hermione, who knew about it in advance through Penelope, naturally joined it, and Lizon's set of wizard levels naturally told them and even helped them analyze some of them. According to this standard, when Penelope graduates from the 7th grade, he will definitely be a great wizard and sprint towards the elite wizard. And Hermione is an elite wizard who can guarantee the bottom line. Whether she can reach the level of the dean depends on the situation. As for why the gap between the two women is so big, it is naturally because one has only 3 years and the other has 7 years. As for Lizon's strength, with more than a year of practice, the supplement of the 5 elements spiritual liquid, and the multiple help of the innate 5 elements spirit pagoda and the 10,000 beast spirit orb, he has now reached the level of a great wizard. What is worth mentioning here is the level of magic power storage. If Lizon uses the spiritual liquid, with his current ability, among other things, he can completely reach the strength of an elite wizard. There is no way, the unique talent for spells allows him to easily master spells, cast spells silently, cast spells without a wand. These levels are difficult for ordinary wizards to achieve, although it is not as simple as eating and drinking for Lizon, but at least it will not be more difficult than ascending to the sky. Lizon, who uses the fire dragon, can reach the level of the Morning Star wizard, which means that Atai's current strength is equivalent to that of the deans. As for other magical animals, not to mention their combat effectiveness, the mutated birds and snakes have also reached the level of a general great wizard, so Lizon is naturally relieved to let them out to watch. And as the days went by, the changes of the birds and snakes were gradually increasing, and Lizon could also feel that their strength was also slowly increasing. It's almost time. Should we go back to the cafeteria, or should we open a small stove? Small stove, Hermione and Penelope said at the same time. In terms of food, they still think that Lizon's craftsmanship is better than the school food. It's just that Lizon doesn't often open a small kitchen, usually only when the 3 of them are alone, and during holidays, otherwise they eat in the cafeteria, so once they can seize the opportunity to open a small kitchen, they will not easily let go. Although Lizon also likes to cook, but when there are too many people, it is torture. However, Lizon was willing to cook for the 2 girls, so he was not surprised by the decision of the 2 girls. Okay, it's cold, let's eat hot pot, otherwise it will be cold if you cook. As Christmas is getting closer and closer, the weather is getting colder and colder. It seems that in a few days, it will be snowing. Lizon, who saw snow for the first time last year, was very excited. After all, Lizon, who grew up in the south, has never seen snow. Okay, then let's help. It is not the first time to eat hot pot, the 2 women are no strangers, and eating hot pot in such a cold weather, let alone how happy, no woman, CDFB, can refuse the temptation of hot pot, regardless of age. Praise Dong Huang, the longer they get along with Lizon, the stronger the 2 girls' affection for Dong Huang will be. After all, Dong Huang's food is really delicious. Take out a coal stove, some charcoal, and a copper mandarin duck pot from the small world. Add water to one side and put the hot pot base to make a spicy pot. On the other side, put red dates, goji berries, ginger slices, and pork ribs to make a clear soup pot. You can also drink soup meat. The meat is kept after slaughtering the animals raised in the small world. After all, the meat in the small world is better than those sold outside, and some vegetables are also grown in the small world, which is convenient for Lizon to eat. Mutton, beef, pork belly, mushrooms, lettuce, beef balls, potato chips, radish, taro. The densely packed dishes filled the entire table, and the tableware and other tableware were naturally taken from curry from the warehouse of the small world. Please call him Lee-Doraemon-Zon. peanut oil, soy sauce, oyster sauce, minced garlic, millet chili, beef sauce, crushed peanuts. Lizon's dish is relatively simple, but at least in terms of the level and richness of taste, it beats the whole of England. During the waiting time, Lizon and the others were not idle. To be precise, Hermione and the others were not idle, they were practicing using chopsticks. Of course, it is more convenient to use chopsticks to eat hot pot. It is not the first time for them to use chopsticks, but they are still a little unskilled. Let's practice before eating. Looking at the tumbling hot pot, Lizon was thinking about something. It was almost December, which meant that this semester was coming to an end, and time flies by so fast. Final exams are in the week before Christmas, and the deans of each college will make a list of students who will not go home for Christmas in the second week of December. Of course Lizon wasn't worried about the final exam. Lizon, who had been educated by Dongguang, the Hogwarts exam was not a big problem for him at all. He is thinking about the harvest of this semester. Lizon did not learn much in the first-year courses, because he is already much ahead of his peers through self-study. Lizon's main goal is to develop the dog in Hogwarts, and to develop with the help of Hogwarts resources, such as the library, such as the Forbidden Forest. When it comes to the Forbidden Forest, Lizon feels a little helpless. It's not that he hasn't been to the Forbidden Forest again during this period of time, but these few times may be due to bad luck. Every time he goes there, he encounters patrols. People. The main reason is that I encounter it every time I go. This luck, no, it should be said to be evil fate. If it wasn't for the fact that the small world couldn't force the humanoids to recognize their masters, Lizon would have planned to see one by one, and send them all to the small world to help take care of the small world as tool people. So after such a period of time, there are 3 more magical animals in the small world, a bunch of flobber slime, a kappa, or kappa, and a pair of grindylows, of which grindyloos are not strictly speaking captured in the Forbidden Forest, but in the Black Lake. Therefore, it can be seen how bad luck Lizon is. Look at our savior Harry. The first time he went to the Forbidden Forest with Malfoy, he met a unicorn, although the unicorn was sucked by Voldemort. Let's look at what Lizon has gained during this time. The important thing is that there is no harm without comparison. Lizon didn't deal with the flobber slime, a creature used to make viscous potions, in potions class. It's just that there are plenty of flobber slime worms in potions class. Of course Lizon can't stuff them into his own small world. When they come across the wet ditches in the Forbidden Forest, it's like adding species of creatures. After all, this kind of 10-inch long, thick and round brown worm-shaped creature has the same danger level as the velvet. It is not very helpful to Lizon, and it is even worse than the velvet. At least the cattail is still a cute thing, and it can be sold as cute. And the flobber sticky worm, let alone being cute, is sticky all over the body, and you won't want to get started. It's hard to use it to practice the flying curse. After all, it's a rare living creature that can be summoned by the flying curse biology. Lizon caught Grindylow in the Black Lake, or stole it. After all, the Grindylow in the Black Lake was tamed by the mermaids, so they could be regarded as owners. Generally speaking, Grindylow will attack humans, whether they are ordinary people or wizards. But in Hogwarts, naturally no Grindylow would dare to do this, especially if he was tamed by a mermaid. Otherwise, if he dared to attack the little wizard, no matter whether he won or lost, he would lose his life. This is what Lizon saw on the lake when he came back from the Forbidden Forest one night. That is, there were no little wizards at night, and these Grindylows would come out to let the wind out a little. If there are still little wizards meeting by the lake, it is impossible for these Grindylows to appear. In fact, Grindylow's danger level is not high, only XX, but his appearance is more ferocious. His whole body is light green, with horns on his head, even his teeth are green, and their fingers are very long. Although these slender fingers made Grindylow a lot stronger when grabbing things, they were also very easy to break, which became their weakness. These Grindylows are easy to arrange, as long as they are placed in the lake, and they feed on small fish and will actively prey on their own. The super large lake in Lizon's small world will definitely meet their survival needs. As for why he specifically caught Grindylow, as mentioned earlier, Lizon now has no aquatic magical animals in the small world. And Lizon is a landlubber, so if there is a water battle, Lizon will suffer a lot, and even have to hide in the small world, or let it go. Li Zan has always wanted to fill the small world with some aquatic magical animals, but he didn't see any in the magical animal shop in Diagon Alley. After coming to Hogwarts, there are indeed many in the Black Lake. But the only ones that often show up are the giant squid, and the others basically hide at the bottom of the lake. Li Zan can't dive into the bottom of the lake now, otherwise there will be a lot of noise. The second is that he still can't swim. Although there is no need to worry about breathing problems with the bubble head spell, the bubble head spell may still be broken or invalid. Of course, Li Zan would not put his life on these possibilities. The only safest way is that there are aquatic magical animals in the small world, so that Li Zan will not have this trouble at all by relying on the power of magical animals. That night, the young Grindylow couple was also unlucky. Seeing that there was no little wizard left, they said they were looking at the stars and the moon on the surface of the water, and then you and I would talk about each other. Unexpectedly, I happened to meet Li Zan, who came back from the Forbidden Forest with nothing to gain, and was directly put into the small world by a stun spell. But maybe it's not bad luck, but their good fortune is not certain, otherwise they will continue to stay in the Black Lake, and if it goes well, they will spend this life in such a muddled and safe way. Otherwise, with all the disputes, future Goblet of Fire, Voldemort's invasion and other incidents, the future of Hogwarts is not safe. Entering the small world, not only is it safe, there is enough food, and you can even fly into the sky in the future, just like birds and snakes. If Grindylow was expected by Li Zan, then Kappa, no, it should be said that Kappa was unexpected, and that was after Grindylow was captured. After all, Grindylow has long been targeted by Li Zan, but it's just a matter of time before Li Zan catches him. But it's not normal for a magical animal with a dangerous level of 4x to appear here in Hogwarts. After all, this kind of magical animal basically lives on the side of the neon. How did you travel thousands of miles to the Forbidden Forest at Hogwarts? Later Li Zan thought about it for a while, and after a brief exchange with the Kappa, he knew that this was the wealth left by the seniors and sisters. Anyway, never underestimate the Hogwarts students' ability to make things happen. Well, after learning of this result, Li Zan didn't seem surprised at all. After all, Li Zan was not surprised by what the Hogwarts students did. Compared with what happened at the college after Harry Potter entered in the past few years, Tom Riddle released the basilisk. The only Kappa was not living well when Li Zan found it. If it wasn't because it lived in a non-foaming pond, Li Zan wouldn't have been able to find it. After all, the Kappa's habit is to suck human blood, but here in the Forbidden Forest of Hogwarts, not to mention sucking human blood, few people have been here. So this Kappa had to change his habits, sucking animal blood, and he couldn't survive just by sucking animal blood. After all, it is difficult to catch animals every day with its strength. Later, it evolved into eating animal meat, so it can be seen that the reason why the Kappa's danger level is so high is because it sucks human blood and hurts people. Kappa looks like a water monkey, but with fish scales all over its body, webbed palms, and a hollow at the top of its head, which is filled with water. These waters provide the Kappa with an energy zone for action. But this has also become a weakness of the Kappa, that is, if someone tricks him into bowing, the water on his head will flow out, and his whole body will be weak. That is to say, he understood that this Kappa does not suck human blood, otherwise Li Zan would not have planned to keep it in the small world. After all, Li Zan does not have so much human blood to feed such a picky creature. It can only be said that if the Kappa didn't change his habits and would rather starve to death, he wouldn't have met Li Zan. After all, he was brought into the small world. This Kappa must have a bright future. Li Zan, can I have meat now? Li Zan was thinking, but Hermione's voice over there interrupted his thoughts suddenly. Li Zan looked at the copper pot, it was already gurgling and rolling. I took a look at the clear soup pot, and it will take some time for the bones over there. In this case, let's put some boilable meatballs on the spicy pot first. Wait for a while, the bones are not yet cooked, but you can put the meatballs on the side of the spicy pot first. Li Zan ordered some mushroom meatballs, beef balls, and handmade fish balls, especially the fish balls, which are truly handmade. Both Hermione and Penelope like to eat them. By the way, there are also shrimp rolls, which are also shrimps in the lake in the small world. Like fish balls, they are all made by Li Zan himself. The taste is much better than what Li Zan ate in hot pot restaurants before. The real ingredients she Sha. One side of the two girls was so hot that they kept exhaling, but the movement of the other hand didn't stop at all. There was no way. They liked spicy food, but they couldn't eat it. It seemed that they had to continue to practice. Lizan, the exam is coming soon. How is your review going? I always feel like I haven't reviewed well. As a result, after drinking a small half of the frozen watermelon juice that Lizan handed over, Hermione said, her mouth couldn't take it anymore, so let's take it easy. Lizan looked at Hermione's lips that had started to turn red, as well as Penelope's over there, and secretly smiled in his heart, but it didn't show on his face, and there was a thin layer of sweat on the foreheads of the two women. That is to say, their physique has been slightly strengthened by the magic power, otherwise it would be more than a simple 4, 3, 7, like flaming red lips, and they will suffer when they squat in the pit tomorrow morning. But Hermione's words made both him and Penelope feel black lines. Before Lizan could speak, Penelope spoke first. Hermione, you've reviewed it twice. Usually your grades are so good, so there's no need to be so worried. You'll definitely pass the exam, and even come first. Hermione is now planning to start the third round of comprehensive review, and Penelope feels that Hermione has indeed suffered from the pre-exam anxiety that Lizan said. But, I want to work hard to get the first place in the exam. Then there's no need to force yourself so much. If you are the first in this situation, it's basically no problem. At this time, Lizan, who was drinking soup, also interjected, but he didn't know that his words had poked a hornet's nest. Hermione looked at him resentfully and said, without you, I'm sure I'm fine, but with you here, I think the second is absolutely fine. Of course, Hermione wasn't unconfident. She wouldn't look like this in front of other young wizards, but compared to Lizan, she was really inferior. A genius really couldn't compare to her. Indeed, it's a good thing I'm not in the same grade as you guys, otherwise I would definitely be hit hard by Lizan. It's really easy for people to despair like this evildoer. Hermione's words made Penelope very agreeable. There was no way. They usually got along with Lizan a lot, so they naturally knew what was going on with Lizan. I am really serious in class and do my homework very well. Besides, there is one thing related to study, that is, to read a lot of new books. But the knowledge I have read before will not be forgotten. The ability and speed of receiving new knowledge are also very fast, and many things can be learned quickly once you get started. You don't need to constantly review like Hermione, you can master it directly after just a little more reading. So if Hermione wants to be number one, her biggest opponent is Lizan. Of course, Hermione would not say to let Lizan release the water or something. If you want to be number one, you have to get it in a dignified manner, not by such a small trick, and the number one is not for showing off or anything else, it's just that Hermione wants to prove it's just my hard work during this time. Lizan, the central figure in the topic, touched his nose and gave each of the two women a chopstick full of mutton, telling them to eat quickly. Well, Lizan's method of blocking their mouths with food was quite effective, and the two women continued to struggle with the mutton in the bowl. It's snowing. Lizan got up in the morning and looked at the heavy snow outside the window. It seemed that he couldn't exercise today, but it didn't matter, he could also exercise indoors. The first grade exams were all over yesterday, and the results will be released today, and then tomorrow is Christmas, which means that it will be a holiday from tomorrow, and the first semester of this school year is over. Last week, Professor Flitwick compiled a list of students who stayed at school and did not go home. Of course, Lizan chose not to stay at school. After all, he has been in Hogwarts for more than 3 months, and there are a lot of things outside that need to be dealt with by himself. Woolen cloth. So this Christmas holiday is just a good time for Lizan to review the business of the past 3 months, and to see if anyone disobeys his discipline. After all, it has been too long since he has appeared, relying only on Shui Xiao's connection with the outside world. The limitations are still very large. Bring the bird and snake Xiaosun back into the small world. Winter is coming, and Xiaoer's changes make them like a small stove, so let them out at night. Lizan's fireplace doesn't need to be too hot, otherwise it will be too hot. After washing and changing clothes, Lizan turned off the thief induction spell at the door, which was originally used to detect magic disguise. It's just improved by Lizan, now it's really a thief induction spell. Sometimes Lizan wonders if he has persecution paranoia. But after thinking about it, I don't think this is the case. I can only call it a steady one. After all, I have too many secrets, so it's better to be steady. When going out to the auditorium, Lisan saw many young wizards having snowball fights there, and the bravest ones were our Weasley twins, who dared to throw snowballs at Voldemort. Looking at Quirrell who fled, the twins were very happy, but they couldn't be happier after a while, because they were taken away by McGonagall. So Lisan on the side was very happy watching, but no one came to make Lisan unhappy. Perhaps Voldemort didn't expect that he, the Dark Lord who almost ruled the magic world, would one day be teased like this by two little wizards. Lisan noticed that Quirrell's body was shaking uncontrollably when he left. He didn't think that Quirrell was shaking from the cold, maybe the master behind his head was putting pressure on Quirrell. That is, under the public view, and Quirrell has not obtained the Sorcerer's Stone, otherwise the Weasley twins did this. According to Voldemort's temperament, it would be the best to directly use Avada Kedavra. I am afraid it is not the Cruciatus Curse and the Imperious Curse, superior. It can only be said that at this time, Voldemort really endured humiliation in order to be resurrected. After watching the excitement, Lisan is not interested in joining the snowball fight team, so let's go to the auditorium to have breakfast. In such a cold weather, a bowl of hot porridge is not to mention how comfortable it is. Entering the auditorium, many young wizards have already obtained their own report cards, and those who passed all of them received O, E, and A, which represent excellent and good passes, are naturally overjoyed. But if there are failing subjects, it is P, D, T, that is poor, very poor and extremely poor, and you have to think about how to face the mixed doubles or bamboo whip fried meat of your parents when you go back. Of course, Lisan also got his own report card smoothly. There is no surprise, all of them represent the excellence of O. If there is no accident, he will be the first in the semester of the first grade. Sure enough, you are still the number one. Hermione also took her own report card, sat down beside Lisan politely, saw the circles on his report card, and looked at herself. The astronomy class was the only E. Originally, she thought that the class that she was most likely to get an E was potions, but she didn't expect that Professor Snape, who was so serious and difficult to get used to Gryffindor, would give her in class. Astronomy, which is considered a sure course, deserves an E, which is really a trick of luck. Okay, there's no need to worry about this result so much, it's all over, and what we're going to welcome is the next Christmas holiday. Lisan knew that this little girl, Hermione, definitely didn't have breakfast, so she also made a bowl of oatmeal for her, as well as a piece of golden and crispy bread. Next semester, I will review 4 times, no, 5 times. Next semester, I must also get 23 and get 5 excellent. Hermione took the breakfast from Lisan's hand, and muttered while eating. Good guy, 3 times is not enough, 4 times and 5 times, that is, Hermione, if it is someone else, it really may not have this perseverance. Not even a student of Lowenkeluo, who loves to learn, can achieve Hermione's level. Penelope is already considered the best group of people in Lowenkeluo, otherwise she would not be a prefect, but she only reviewed it twice. The first is that there is not enough time, and the second is that it really takes perseverance to do such things over and over again. But this also proves that Hermione is indeed a persevering person, and it is no wonder that she will be able to reach the position of Minister of Magic in the future. Unlike the current Minister of Magic, Fudge, Hermione relied on real skills, otherwise Hermione would not be on the chocolate frog card at some point in the future. Hermione is indeed that kind of genius, and she is also a very hard-working group. All right, you will definitely be stronger than me in the future. Lord Hermione, the future legendary wizard, will cover me. Hearing Lisan's words, Hermione couldn't help but give him a blank look. Does the legendary wizard think that she doesn't know what this level is? Don't forget that your level of wizard still has my power. Don't forget about me. Even Penelope, who just arrived, came up and joked that in front of Lisan and Hermione, Penelope was less cold than usual and a little more pyrotechnic. According to Penelope's roommate Martha, since Lisan entered school, Penelope has changed a lot, at least he has become more cheerful and lively than before. Sister Penelope, come and laugh at me too. The 2 girls started to fight, and Martha, who was on the side, saw the strangeness, and asked while eating a sandwich, Lisan, are you going home for Christmas or staying in school? By the way, I forgot to mention that Penelope's roommate, Martha, is a black pearl beauty, comparable to Penelope who is a white jade beauty, and the two of them share a separate dormitory. There is no way, the saying that people are often divided into groups by like clusters is still correct. According to Martha, when they first came in, the appearance of the two of them caused a lot of commotion. Even when they were divided into dormitories, ordinary-looking little wizards didn't really want to share a dormitory with them. Although it wasn't a contradiction, no one was willing to be a little transparent. Later, the two of them simply lived in the same dormitory, but their temperaments were different. Penelope was cold and not very talkative, and Martha was like a little pepper. She was usually a talkative person in the academy. And they are very clever, like our Weasley twins, who will come over to say hello honestly every time they see Martha, even more honest than meeting their dean, Professor McGonagall. As for the reason, Liaison asked them and Martha didn't say anything, and Penelope didn't know, so Liaison didn't ask any more questions later. Anyway, Martha was also that kind of figure at Hogwarts, a real big sister. Even those guys from Slytherin with their nostrils in the air basically didn't dare to say anything when they met Martha. Otherwise, with Penelope and her appearance, it can be said that there will be constant troubles. Even if they have a good relationship with them, it should be no less trouble. So when Liaison knew that he entered Hogwarts and had a good relationship with such good-looking senior sisters like Penelope and the others, and that there were no hot-blooded little wizards who came to pretend to slap him in the face, it turned out that it was because the big sister was covering her head with Martha. Some can't help but smile. Later, Liaison and Penelope got out the wizard level, and Penelope told Liaison that Martha has now reached the strength of a great wizard, and she was a wizard in the 3rd grade. Only then did Liaison realize that Martha was relying on fists. But it goes without saying that Martha is indeed a talented wizard, and she is already a great wizard in the 5th grade. Isn't it possible to become an elite wizard after graduation? If Liaison hadn't been cheating, maybe he couldn't compare to her, right? Give her another 10 or 20 years, maybe she can fully reach the level of Dumbledore and the others. This is of course when they were in their heyday, so Kay knows a hammer Harry Potter. Liaison doesn't know if Dumbledore has discovered Martha's talent, but maybe even if he knows, he should still implement his savior training plan. After all, far away water can't save near fire. Even if Martha can reach the realm of a legendary mage and a god of law in the future, it is useless. After all, it won't be long before Voldemort will make a comeback, and maybe Martha will fall on the road to Voldemort's return in the future. Moreover, things like strength are more difficult to improve as you go to the back, and you need a lot of resources to assist, such as various potions, various natural materials and earthly treasures, etc. Because Liaison has the backing of the small world, all kinds of aura food have never stopped. Otherwise, with Liaison's talent, although the improvement will be very fast, but it is impossible to be equal to the current Martha, and will surpass it soon. Let's go back. It's only a 10-day vacation. I just go back for a trip. Otherwise, it will take a long time to wait until later. Anyway, this winter vacation is not long, less than half a month. School starts at the beginning of January, and Liaison also has something to deal with, so he must go back. That's true. Usually, you look so old, you almost forget that you are a freshman. Liaison couldn't help but smile bitterly at Martha's words. This big sister's boastful words are so unique. By the way, there is this. While chatting, Liaison suddenly remembered that tomorrow is Christmas, so he took a few big ruby-like apples from the small world, and as soon as he took them out, the unique aroma of the apples filled the range. Even Hermione and Penelope, who were still fighting on the sidelines, turned their attention. Hey, today is Christmas Eve. Here's an apple for each of you. Hermione and the others accepted the apple in confusion, and Penelope couldn't help asking, Liaison, why did you give us an apple on Christmas Eve? Liaison had expected that Penelope and the others would ask questions, and replied with a smile, in Dongwang, apples are homophonic for Ping'an, so they are also called Ping'an fruit. I will send you an apple. And N, ask for a good omen. As for the fact that Westerners don't eat apples on Christmas Eve, Liaison knew about it last year, and made some jokes about it. After all, things like homonyms to please omens are normal in Dongwang, but strange in foreign countries. It can only be said that Liaison was also one of the people who was deceived by unscrupulous merchants. But Liaison didn't care either. With his current disposition, he naturally wouldn't care about canceling or not. Moreover, children's opinions are different from those of adults. Hermione and Penelope found Lizon's statement very interesting. Especially the two daughters who studied Dongguan culture hard because of Lizon, and learned a little Dongguan culture. Crack. Martha over there was not polite. She picked up the apple and wiped it on her clothes before gnawing on it. After all, the water droplets on the apple proved that Lizon had cleaned it, and it was not the first time Lizon took out the fruit. The taste of the fruit he took every time was much better than that of Hogwarts. Because of Penelope, Martha didn't eat less, but every time she felt that she couldn't eat enough. She is not the two brainless love girls over there who have completely invested their body and mind on Lizon, or this apple is more delicious. Lizon, you have something good again, of course you should share the good things with your good friends. The Weasley twins who smelled came and sat down opposite Lizon. As for the side, there were Penelope and Hermione on the left and right. They were not people without eyesight. I knew there must be you, I prepared it for you, let's share it with everyone. Lizon directly took out an oversized basket with at least dozens of apples in it, which Fred and George might not be able to take away with their strength, and asked a few students from Lowen-Keluo to help take them away. So after a while, the whole auditorium was discussing Lee's selection of apples, and the meaning of the safe fruit was naturally told by our gossip propaganda center, the Weasley twins. Someone asked Lowen-Keluo, another Dongguan student, Zhang Chu, if he really meant this. That is, this year, the Weasleys took Ginny to Romania to see Charlie, otherwise the Weasleys and Ron would both go home. Hermione and the others ate an apple and were completely full. Seeing that their apples were so popular, Lizon separated from Hermione and the others, carried a fruit basket, went to the 8th floor, and politely knocked on the door of a certain room. Come in. Professor Flitwick's voice sounded in the room. Yes, this is Professor Flitwick's office. It turned out to be Lizon. Congratulations, you won the first place in the exam, but you made Wen-Keluo look good for us. I remember you are going home for the holidays, why are you here? Seeing Lizon, Professor Flitwick sitting on the chair was very happy. After all, he was his favorite student. Originally, Flitwick thought that Gryffindor would take away the glory of Wen-Keluo this time. After all, this year Gryffindor not only had an extra savior, Harry Potter. There is another Hermione who is very diligent, studious and intelligent. After all, Hermione's learning ability is recognized by all the professors. But my own Lowen-Keluo is not bad. From the time I went to greet Lizon, I can see that the second son is extraordinary and has the talents of a great emperor. Even Hermione, the top student in Gryffindor, is half a man who pulls Wen-Keluo if nothing else, and Lizon's organizational skills and prestige are also appreciated by Flitwick. The students of Lowen-Keluo are good at everything else, studious, smart, and powerful, but they only lack characters like leaders. Unlike the Gryffindor and Slytherin next door, although some places are criticized, it has to be said that there are quite a few legends in these two colleges. Coupled with Lizon's intelligence, knowledge, and various advantages, it can be said that he is Professor Flitwick's darling. Lizon didn't know that the dean of his family was so poisonous, otherwise he might have to take a deep breath, become such a strong person, and contribute to global warming. Yeah, I'll be leaving later, but tonight is Christmas Eve, I'll bring you apples. Under Professor Flitwick's puzzled eyes, Lizon told Professor Flitwick the homophonic meaning of Dongguangli, which made him very interesting. Okay, then I will have this apple that represents peace. Professor Flitwick was very happy to move the apples on the table to the side table with the levitation spell, and said with a smile, would you like some pink coconut sorbet or toffee? Professor Flitwick opened his drawer, took out toffee and coconut sorbet and put them on the table. As a professor, it wasn't that he liked these candies so much, they were all prepared for little wizards. After all, Honeyduke's candy is not cheap, and it is difficult for little wizards to eat, so he often buys some for storage. After all, the gold galleon is not a big deal for Professor Flitwick. And the little wizards of Lowen-Keluo, no, it is accurate to say that the entire Hogwarts students know that Professor Flitwick has candy here. Sometimes some greedy little wizards come to ask for some sweets in the name of asking for advice. Professor Flitwick is not angry, but cheerful. He is very happy that everyone can come to him. But everyone knows how to measure. After all, the seniors can go to Hogsmeade every year, so Professor Flitwick is really a good teacher. No, to be precise, the deans of the 4 colleges are all very good teachers, even that Professor Snape who has been talking with a cold face like a poisonous snake spraying venom. Snape, I really do thank you. I'll just eat one. I have to go back and pack my luggage. See you next semester, Professor. Liaison took a taffy from the table. Professor Flitwick's kindness still had to be accepted, but there were a lot of candies in his own small world, so he didn't take more. Knowing that Liaison was going back, Professor Flitwick didn't want to stay any longer. After all, the future is long, and this is only the first semester, and there is still a long way to go. While chewing taffy, Liaison walked towards Lowen Keluo's dormitory. He also saw Hagrid dragging a Christmas tree that was about the same size as him to the auditorium. I can only say that it is you. In fact, Liaison has nothing to clean up. After all, everything is in the small world, and the dormitory bedroom is just a change of clothes. Anyway, it's no secret that I have space items. Liaison doesn't bother to pretend anymore. It's a showdown. Hey, I don't pretend anymore. I went back and cast another burglar induction spell on my room, then took a look, and found that I had nothing to bring, so I came to Lowen Keluo's common room with empty hands. It's not for anything else, but to wait for Penelope. After all, Liaison has a small world, but she doesn't. Liaison came here to help carry the luggage, not to be precise, to collect the luggage. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, Penelope came down. Fortunately, he only took one box, and Liaison stepped forward to put the box in. Then go to Gryffindor with Penelope, wait for Hermione to come down and repeat the operation. Woo woo woo. Another half day was wasted on the train. If it wasn't for the purpose of deceiving others, Liaison would have wanted to summon Ah Tai out. Taking him would be much faster than this express. If it doesn't work, the birds and snakes can do it too. The speed of the birds and snakes is much faster than this train. When getting off the car, Liaison bought some fruit and some gifts for Hermione and Penelope. After all, it is necessary to make a good relationship with the mother-in-law and the others in advance. Okay, Merry Christmas to you all in advance. Liaison took out their suitcases, put some things on the trolley, and left. Seeing Liaison leaving in a car with the support of several business elites, Hermione and Penelope were a little surprised, but not too curious. Because when they were on the train, Liaison told them about this matter, saying that he has an industry in the technology world, and he also talked about it, so they all know what is going on. In such a comparison, Hogwarts is the same age. No, it can even be extended to those students who have not graduated from the 7th grade. There are a few outstanding students like Liaison who have such a big industry in their teens. Not only is she knowledgeable, handsome, and powerful, but also good at business. She is really a perfect partner. Boss, Merry Christmas. In the car, Guy Enoch, the chief steward of Liaison's technology industry and the general manager, first smiled and said happy holidays to Liaison. Guy Enoch is a handsome British guy in his 30s, with blonde hair, a sharp-edged face, and a capable temperament. You too, Merry Christmas. You came to pick me up during the holidays. Thank you for your hard work. Liaison nodded. For Westerners, Christmas is just like Dongguang's Spring Festival. Although today is not Christmas, but Christmas Eve, it is also a holiday time. Guy and Liaison kept reporting along the way. Although there were exchanges and communication every week, it was still clearer and clearer to speak in person. Liaison and the others didn't go to the company today, or they won't go to the company for the next 2 days, because the company is on holiday, and Guy and the others just came here today. When Liaison was an excellent laborer in his previous life, he hated going to work on holidays, but now he has become a big capitalist. Liaison's destination is naturally number 8, Privet Drive, his residence. In addition to Guy, the heads of other industries will also come over soon. After all, Guy is only the general manager. For the rest of the catering industry, hotel industry, farm, ranch and winery, technology industry, arms industry, retail industry, etc., each industry has a dedicated person in charge. In addition to their deputy, there are more than a dozen people who directly contact Liaison. Although Liaison returned to King's Cross Station because of the Hogwarts Express, it was already evening, but it did not affect the evening schedule. There are only 2 itineraries CDFB in the evening. One is for everyone to have a meal together, and then there is a meeting. By the time Liaison got out of his busy work, It was already the last day of 1991, and these days were really busy. Except for Li Zan, who was sorting out work at home on the 25th of Christmas, it has been formed since the 26th. Fortunately, on Christmas Day, Shui Xiao was very helpful and helped Li Zan deliver all the Christmas presents he wanted to give. That day Li Zan was still thinking wickedly, if fantastic beasts were to choose the fantastic animals that they dislike Christmas the most, the owls would definitely have something to say. Because this festival is their good day, so many gifts have to be given one by one, which is simply torturing the owls. Snow owls like Li Zan are okay, young and strong, and have been baptized with spiritual energy, and owls like the Weasley family can only be said to be old and vigorous. And there are so many people in the Weasley family, if everyone sends gifts through it, Li Zan can only say good luck to you. Not counting the subordinates in the technology world, these people don't need Shui Xiao to send Li Zan just gives it or arranges it. It's mainly from Hogwarts, Hermione and Penelope, needless to say. The rest are Professor Flitwick, Martha, and the Weasley twins who play well, and the little wizards who are in the same grade as Lowen Keluo. Except Hermione and Penelope's gifts are carefully selected, the rest of the people basically choose the same, that is the food in their own industry. It's just the quantity and variety, and Li Zan's laziness is nothing to say. The new year is coming again. New Year's Eve is coming. Li Zan did not stay in his own house, but entered the small world, which is much warmer than outside. All of a sudden, Li Zan will be out of school for a week. During this time Li Zan is very busy, mainly busy with the armaments. Don't forget, on the second day of Christmas, the giant bear will disintegrate. Li Zan has learned a lot about this matter in his history textbooks. Therefore, Li Zan naturally planned there in advance. He knew what the current situation was like there. The target, of course, was their arms production line and various talents. As mentioned earlier, Li Zan must master this area when he finds an opportunity. This time point is undoubtedly the best time to intervene. Therefore, during this feast, Li Zan at least had a full stomach, and it would take at least half a year or even a year to digest it. Of course, what Li Zan has done has been seen by some people, and jealousy is inevitable, but now the scale and system of Li Zan's industry are not in the state of being at the mercy of others. If you want to fight Li Zan, first check if your teeth are sharp enough. According to the news over there, the invisible beast will arrive in 2 days, and it can be received just before returning to school. Li Zan looked at the birds and snakes playing over there and thought, Li Zan not only gained a lot in the real world this time, but also in the wizarding world over there. Li Zan also took the opportunity to recruit a lot of talents. Now Li Zan's shortcomings in the wizarding world were made up for. After all, there are indeed very few wizarding people in England. Even those so-called black wizards are actually useless if you put on a black robe. After all, there are only those people in the group of black wizards, but I just don't know which one you are. Compared to the wizarding community in England, there are more people in the Far East, and now is the best time to subdue them, not for anything else, because Li Zan is rich now and has all kinds of supplies. In this special period in the Far East, having money is not the most attractive thing, but having supplies is. As for Li Zan, whether it is materials from the technological world or the magic world, he is not bad. All kinds of magic plants have also been cultivated in the small world, and Li Zan has also collected a lot of seeds. Even if Li Zan doesn't have it here, but he has gold galleons. They don't sell it to Far East, but they will definitely sell it to Li Zan. After all, Li Zan, a big customer, is famous in the circle for being rich and straightforward. It's almost the kind of people who get money quickly, but Li Zan is not losing money, and the galleons he used were all obtained from the underground gold curry. Most of the wizards that Li Zan recruited this time were at the level of great wizards, as long as there were a few dozen elite wizards. As for the Morning Star wizards, I'm sorry, don't even think about it. After all, there are very few people who have reached the level of Morning Star wizard. No matter what, they will not be reduced to working for a small force like Li Zan who doesn't go out. By the way, Li Zan named Julie for his strength. Naturally he wanted to emulate Caillou, the master of the army. Or a little thought about his previous life. And even if there is, Li Zan will not accept it now, even if he has reached the Morning Star wizard after the fire dragon is possessed, but that is not his true strength. It's still very easy to be taken advantage of. When the time comes, don't make wedding dresses for others, and let the recruited Morning Star wizard pick peaches. Don't worry, I am only 11 years old now. Oh, no, I will be 12 years old tomorrow, and I still have a lot of time. Li Zan didn't expect that this time, he would take this opportunity to get the invisible beast. As I said before, the invisible beast is a 4x magical animal, although it has a gentle temperament and likes to be quiet. However, because of its own invisibility characteristics, the ability to predict the future for a short time, and the high value of hair, it is rarely discovered by wizards. Moreover, the region where the invisible beast mainly lives is the Far East, that is, taking advantage of this turmoil, this invisible beast appeared. Wow! When Li Zan came to the lake behind the villa in the small world, two figures broke through the water and rushed out. Ordinary people would definitely be terrified, but Li Zan already sensed what was coming. In front of him, the whole body is dark light green, hairless, with horns on the top of his head. Isn't it the Grindilo that Li Zan conquered from the Black Lake? Seeing the big fish still struggling in their two hands, Li Zan smiled. It was not the first time. Every time he came to the edge of the lake, these two guys would try to please him like this. Seeing fish, the happiest thing is the birds and snakes. They chirped and took over the two big fish. They skillfully disemboweled and removed the internal organs. Among other things, the birds and snakes will definitely kill the fish now. Good hand. Grindelos prefer to eat raw. Unlike birds and snakes and irons, raw fish is their favorite, but under the demonstration of birds and snakes, they fell in love with the fish called fish. How to eat raw. The taste of just eating fish is relatively simple, but with sauces and various vegetables, they like to mix it with various algae, because algae and fish are their favorite food, and eating them together is definitely a doubly happy. So today is another day of spending time with magical animals and practicing spells in small world. A few days later, the invisible beast was finally sent to Li Zan, and along with the invisible beast, there was also Oleg, the head of Li Zan's Far Eastern wizard force, an elite wizard. As for the full name, I think that except for people from the Far East, people from other countries are absolutely not interested in knowing their full names. After all, you won't be able to remember them. This is not the first time we met Oleg Li Zan. When Li Zan first contacted him, he was still just a great wizard. Later, with the help of Li Zan, his strength improved by leaps and bounds, so he didn't have too much worry. However, Oleg is a typical Far Eastern man, with a burly figure and a beard. He is clearly only in his 20s, so he made himself look like a king in his 40s. Boss. Although Li Zan is very thin compared to Oleg, but in front of Li Zan, Oleg does not dare to make any mistakes, but is very cute. After Li Zan got a tie, he took the time to go to the Far East, the kind that went back on the same day. In addition to explaining some things and making some arrangements, the rest is to use the power of a tie to fight Oleg. Oleg will never forget Li Zan's momentum and strength at that time. He was completely suppressed by him. Besides Oleg, there are other subordinates watching from the sidelines. It was also in that scene that Li Zan completely convinced them. The Far East man's personality is also very clear, and he especially admires the strong. Li Zan convinced them with such dignity. Even though Li Zan was only a teenager, they still believed. Li Zan didn't let them down. With Li Zan's help, in just 1 year, Oleg, who was originally a great wizard, was promoted to an elite wizard, and the wizard was also promoted to a great wizard. Basically, old employees all raised a level. There is no way, the great wizard is still too weak to eat a piece of meat in the turmoil that just passed. Don't say that the magical world and the technological world should be kept secret and keep a distance. In such a big environment, it is definitely a carnival for the strong. Li Zan is well aware of one truth, that is, if you stock up on food but not guns, you are the granary. I don't want to be someone else's granary. After all, there is another extension of this sentence, that is, the neighbor stores grain and I store guns, and the neighbor is my granary. Relying on enough hot weapons and a team of hundreds of wizards, Li Zan was able to get his stomach full and get out of this feast. Li Zan didn't rush to see the invisible beast, but had a meeting with Oleg and the others first. After all, Oleg and the others were going back soon, and now the Far East still needed their strength. Chapter 91. After Oleg and the others left, Li Zan carried the special iron cage into the small world. It is obviously an empty cage, but when you pick it up, you can feel the obvious weight. Not surprisingly, the invisible beast must have used its invisibility ability. After all, animals will subconsciously use their abilities to protect themselves when they encounter danger. Entering the small world, Li Zan opened up his affinity talent, and at the same time opened the door of the cage. Although the invisible beast is forced to recognize its owner in the small world, Li Zan still has to establish a good relationship with the invisible beast and let the other party accept him. Come out, don't be afraid. Li Zan softly said to the invisible beast in the cage. This magical animal represents the number 0 in the rune alphabet. And the 440 birds and snakes around them stopped making noise and stayed quietly. As for Ah Tai, Li Zan was afraid that the invisible beast would be scared by Ah Tai and would not dare to come out or remain invisible all the time, so he let it wait outside the villa. Maybe it's because of Li Zan's kindness, Li Zan's affinity talent, the passive favorability bonus after accepting the master, and the expectations of the birds and snakes. Li Zan could clearly feel the movement of the invisible beast walking out of the iron cage. After a few seconds, maybe he really didn't feel any danger, and the aura here made him feel very comfortable. Calendar. The appearance of the invisible beast looks a bit like an elegant ape man, and the whole body is covered with long and fine hair that is as silver as silk. At the same time, it has a pair of black eyes, but now the invisible beast's big black eyes are often hidden in the hair, revealing a touch of sadness and a little bit of panic and anxiety. Naturally, Li Zan could understand. After all, he left his hometown and was captured by wizards and transported here after a long journey. And why invisible beasts are so rare nowadays? Humans hunt and kill them on the one hand, and on the other hand invisible beasts are also intelligent, seeing the fate of their own kind, of course they hide. It's fine even if they become pets after being captured, but everyone in the Far East knows their temperament, so they were skinned and dismembered on the spot. This kind of bloody scene was done in front of the invisible beasts. Of course, the invisible beasts were invisible. Seeing such a result, the invisible beasts of course avoided the wizards. Well, you don't need to worry and be afraid when you come to me. Li Zan stepped forward and gently hugged the invisible beast into his arms. The invisible beast's eyes subconsciously glowed with a premonition of the future. It wanted to make sure whether Li Zan would hurt itself in the next second. That mask with hypocrisy, at the beginning showed a friendly and kind face, and when it was in front of it, it suddenly turned its face. This invisible beast was captured in this way. As a result, the invisible beast didn't resist, and leaned on Li Zan's arms relaxedly as a whole. It was really tiring and frightening after the journey. Because of Li Zan's instructions, after the invisible beast was purchased by Oleg and the others, it was naturally not abused, but was served with good food and drink. In fact, what the invisible beast doesn't know is that if it wasn't for Li Zan's bounty offered by the wizarding world in the Far East, the price of a living invisible beast is 3 times the price of a dead invisible beast on the market, and it might not be able to survive in the hands of those wizards. Survived. After all, for wizards, the living ones are naturally harder to catch than the dead ones, and the value of the invisible beasts generally lies in the fine silver hair, so it is dead or alive. As for why not breed invisible beasts to harvest hair regularly? The first is that if you want to weave an invisibility cloak, you must have the hair of one or more invisible beasts, and the hair of an invisible beast grows very slowly because of its magical properties. It cannot be harvested once a year, and hairs that are too short are of no value and must reach a braidable length. The second is the number of invisible beasts. Bowtruckles, billywigs and other magical animals are very small in number. If you do breeding, the number and scale will not increase. If it does not reach a certain level, it will only be a waste of time and energy, waste money. After all, invisible beasts also need to eat and drink, so there is a lot of investment in breeding, and everyone knows the situation in the Far East. People can't get enough to eat, let alone breeding magical animals. Moreover, we have to care about the invisible beasts, and as a result, we don't see any returns for a year, only different expenditures, so generally, unless they are pets, almost no wizards will choose to breed invisible beasts. This time, if the invisible beast hadn't been unable to come out to find food, it wouldn't have been caught. After all, the mountains were covered by heavy snow, and the sky and the earth were all white, so it was really hard to catch prey. The reason why the danger level of invisible beast reaches 4x is mainly because of its scarcity, and the ability to be invisible and predict the future. As for the combat power, Li Zan is definitely among the magical animals in his current collection. Some of them are comparable to sniffing and bowtruckle, and the others are basically better than invisible beasts. In fact, as a herbivore, invisible beasts do not have high food requirements, but they cannot withstand the current climate in the Far East. Li Zan hugged the invisible beast for quite a while, but didn't see any movement from it. He lowered his head and saw that this little guy just fell asleep in Li Zan's arms. I can only say that I don't blame it. My nerves have been tense all the time, and I have been worrying about it recently, and I must have not had a good rest. Li Zan's tense nerves suddenly relaxed. The tiredness accumulated for many days suddenly broke out and surged up, so it is normal to sleep directly in a place where you feel safe. Li Zan gently hugged the invisible beast, and came to the room of the birds and snakes, where Li Zan had prepared a small bed for the invisible beast in advance. In the original 5.1, it was Purongrong who lived with the birds and snakes, but now the Purongrongs have been moved to live with the little snuffers. Li Zan was afraid that these little guys would be too noisy, making the quiet invisible beast uncomfortable. In fact, it would be most appropriate to arrange a separate room for the invisible beast, but Li Zan was afraid that the invisible beast might not be used to it because it was new to the house. So temporarily let it live with the birds and snakes, and then arrange it according to its ideas after it gets used to it. With the veterans of the small world like birds and snakes, Li Zan is not worried that the invisible beasts will not get used to it. Although the birds and snakes are only about 1 year old, Li Zan is still very at ease in doing things. Cover the invisible beast with a small quilt, and leave with the birds, snakes and little snuffers who look like worms, and then let the invisible beast sleep well. In the evening, the invisible beast woke up from its sleep, found the strange environment it was in, and subconsciously used its invisibility ability to hide itself. But after more than 10 seconds, he returned to his senses, looked at the small bed and quilt under him, and remembered where he was now. The evening glow shone in through the windows, making the room not very dark. How long has it been since I looked at the sky quietly and without worries like this, running around for food every day, and the situation in the Far East is not as peaceful as it is here. The invisible beast didn't rush down, stroked its belly gently, then got off the bed, went to the window and looked down. In the backyard near the lake, Li Zan was cooking dinner for Ah Tai and the others. It was the New Year's Eve, and there was no one else around. Li Zan felt that it would be better to spend time with the magical animals who trusted and supported him the most. For this reason, Li Zan asked the birds and snakes to bring back all the bowtruckles, and Pang Lok, who took care of the horses, also rode over. Li Zan, the flying billywig, just sent a thought to notify that the shape-shifting lizard is always near the villa, and the Kappa and Grindylow are in the lake. As for the cats and cats who live in the villa, it goes without saying, so when the invisible beast looks down from the window, it sees such a harmonious scene. Li Zan was roasting a whole cow in front of the bonfire, and the Yulank iron belly fire dragon next to him was lying on its head, but it was facing Li Zan's side, staring closely at the roast whole cow. 5 birds and snakes stuck to Li Zan's body, and 2 gigantic lock avatars were constantly busy, such as washing fruits with the help of Green Shenluo and Kappa. On the other side, Xiaoshuo, Purongrong, Bowtruckle and Shapeshifting Lizard turned into troublemakers, and after a while they ran to Li Zan to watch eagerly, and asked Li Zan to cut some grilled meat for them, even if most of them didn't eat meat. Then I went to Pang Lok to secretly take away some favorite fruits, or distribute the spoils unevenly, and get angry and play around again. Even the brave ones ran to Ah Tai and climbed on its back. Ah Tai didn't get angry, just let them play, as long as he didn't delay his own barbecue. Are you awake? Come down when you wake up. As the owner of the small world, he is naturally able to sense everything inside, so he knew it when the invisible beast woke up, but he was busy discussing with the little boy Xiaoyi what grilled fish tastes better, and at the same time it also gives stealth a little reaction time. By the way, the window of the bird and snake's room was open, and the sill of the window was deliberately shortened to make it easier for them to wander around, so Li Zanyi, the invisible beast, could see it when he looked up by the window. Hearing what Li Zan said, many magical animals also looked up. Being stared at by so many friends, the invisible beast was not nervous or shy, and nodded generously. Li Zan didn't say anything about this, but smiled and continued to be busy with the work at hand, presenting the magical animals in his own small world. Birds and snakes, sniffers, cattails, bowtruckles, and deformed lizards all have the temperament of children. And people like Panglock, Grindylow, and Kappa, although they are not young, are not the kind of lively and talkative people, and they are all relatively taciturn. After all, their original temperament is procedure. Grindylow and Panglock are okay, at least they still have partners by their side before, and the problem of Kappa is more serious. But Lizon couldn't help it for a while. After all, the Kappa's situation is also an old problem. He lived alone for so many years. Using human age to describe him, he can be said to be an old man in his twilight years now, and he is indifferent to everything. After all, he has experienced life and death. As for Atai, needless to say, now I am a tough guy, I just want to enjoy delicious food and become stronger and don't care about anything else. The reason why he said so much was that Lizon wanted to find himself a big steward of the small world, at least the great steward of the magical animals. It's a pity that none of the people in the small world are qualified for this job. It should be said that none of them match in character. It wasn't the first day that Lizon came up with this idea. He had it when he was at Hogwarts. After all, as there were more and more magical animals in the small world, someone still needed someone to help Lizon manage them. In fact, the house elf is the most suitable, loyal, capable of magic, mainly able to communicate with Lizon. But it is a pity that the house elves in the magic world are currently monopolized. Basically there are no wild ones, and even if they trade, there are very few trades. Of course, the Hogwarts kitchen has the largest number of house elves in the wizarding world, but at present, Lizon has no idea how to trick the house elves from. After all, these house elves are all thinking of Hogwarts and Hufflepuff, and they will be grateful. In such an era, Hogwarts gave them shelter, which is a great kindness. Even though he didn't have much contact with the invisible beast, Lizon could feel the indifference and generosity of the invisible beast. Generally speaking, if one wants to become a leader among magical animals, or a housekeeper like Lizon needs, of course one must use strength to speak. According to this, Atai is the most suitable. But after Lizon communicated with it, this tired 440 lazy guy had no idea about this at all, and even refused repeatedly. Well, since he doesn't want to, Lizon won't force it. After all, mutual respect and consent are the premise. Now Lee found out that the invisible beast had some meaning. After all, this invisible beast didn't seem like birds, snakes, or children. When it is fully cultivated, Lizon plans to talk to it. As for the fact that the invisible beast is not strong enough, will they be convinced by Atai? For Lizon, of course strength is not everything. As long as Lizon speaks, the magical animals will listen. After all, no one else can hold this position, and Atai himself refused. I haven't eaten for a day, so you should be hungry, right? Go to Panglock and the others to get some fruit for a cushion. Seeing the elegant invisible beast walking down, Lizon said with a smile, the invisible beast is a herbivore, so it can naturally eat fruit. If there are fruits to eat, isn't that more delicious than grass? Not to mention that the fruit tastes even better in Lizon's small world, and the invisible beast doesn't refuse, and it's really hungry. It's not shameful for my master to feed me. So come to Panglock and them, pick up a big washed apple and eat it. As soon as the crisp and sweet apple is eaten, the eyes of the invisible beast light up. It is sweet, crisp and juicy. This apple is really delicious. The invisible beast eating the apple also came to sit next to Lizon. After all, when he came to a strange place, no matter whether it was a human or a beast, he would subconsciously get close to what he was familiar with. It's just that the distance between the invisible beast and the bonfire is a little bit far, and it doesn't want its slender silver hair to be ignited. While Lizon was busy with his work, he was communicating with the invisible beast. It's just that this so-called communication is basically Lizon talking, the invisible beast nodding and shaking its head or adding some gestures. An hour later, the birds and snakes over there were feasting, while Lizon was watching the invisible beast drinking juice and gently stroking its belly. After the exchange and communication just now, don't ask how Lizon understood what the invisible beast wanted to express. They all agreed, there must be a connection and a history of being able to perceive the other party. Lizon never thought that his invisible beast would be buy one get one free. Lizon was a little strange when he saw the invisible beast touching his belly, but now he finally understands that the smile on the invisible beast's face is the brilliance of motherhood. If it wasn't for the little guy in its belly, this new life, the invisible beast would not come out to look for food at this time of year. After all, it is aware of the situation in the Far East, and of course it will stockpile food in advance, but it did not expect that this time there are 2 mouths, so there is not enough food. As for Li Zan asking about the little guy's father, the invisible beast shook his head and didn't say much. So Li Zan didn't know if the other invisible beast was made into an invisibility cloak, or it was a sugarcane beast. But this has nothing to do with Li Zan. The important thing now is to take good care of this invisible beast so that it can give birth to the little invisible beast smoothly. As for the butler, that is to be said later. Li Zan, who came out of the small world, stood in front of the mirror and borrowed the power of the invisible beast. In an instant, he could see himself in the mirror suddenly become transparent like water ripples, although he completely disappeared. Li Zan walked back and forth in front of the mirror, and found that there was no flaw, and the place where he was standing in the mirror was still transparent and empty. But this does not mean that the invisibility ability is invincible. Now, Li Zan has discovered 2 problems. The first is that even if he is invisible, the person is still there, so he should avoid contact with others. It's like why Snape stretched out his hand when Harry wore the invisibility cloak to watch the conversation between Snape and Quirrell. Whether it's the ability of the invisible beast, the invisibility cloak, or the disillusionment spell, they all have this flaw. The second should be an extension of the first defect, that is, the various movements created when invisible will not be eliminated, and this also needs attention. Li Zan took out the flashlight, turned on the switch and placed it on the table, then walked over by himself, and found that there were no shadows or outlines on the ground. That shows that the invisibility is relatively perfect, and there is no death in sight. As for the noise of walking, Li Zan also has a way to solve it. If there is noise when walking, and the speed is slow, then flying will be fine. It's not that Li Zan can only fuse a single magical animal at the same time, of course, he can fuse multiple animals at the same time. It's not just empty words, but Li Zan has really tried. The key point of multiple fusions is whether Li Zan can withstand it. For example, if Li Zan fuses with the fire dragon Ati, it will be no problem to fuse with the invisible beast, or Xiaoyi can do any of them. But that's the limit, fire dragon plus a magical animal, but if it's like a bird and snake, Li Zan can directly fuse all 5 of them, add an invisible beast, and add Pang Lok, they are not a problem. So Li Zan's real combat limit lies in how many magical animals he can fuse, which is related to his physique. This is why Li insists on exercising every day. Even if the effect of regular exercise is not 1/10 of the nourishing effect of the daily magic power, but if it can be a little more, it will be a little more. In the future, Li Zan's physique will become stronger, and the number and strength of the magical animals in the small world will increase. At that time, Li Zan will be in his strongest state if he chooses longevity possession. Among other things, if there are 10 or 8 fire dragons in Li Zan's small world, Li Zan can be piled up to the level of Hao Yu Wizard just by counting, and even more plus other fire dragons in the small world. For fantastic beasts, it is not impossible to reach the Yaoyang Wizard. It's just that this goal is impossible to achieve for the time being, but in the future, it's not certain. Li Zan secretly has another bad idea, crossed out plan in his heart. After dispelling the invisible beast's invisibility ability, Li Zan's figure reappeared in the room. Embedding his whole body into the soft sofa, Li Zan looked at the flames that were constantly beating in the fireplace, thinking about what else he hadn't done. After all, there is still 1 week before school starts, so I have to hurry up. The layout of the Far East has also been closed, and the next thing is to lie dormant there to digest the benefits of this time. The industries in the world of science and technology have also been inspected, and the Magic Research Institute has also established a project. This time, the Far East has harvested a lot of scientists and talents, enough to establish a research institute. It's just that the purchase of instruments is a problem, and money is one aspect. After all, things linked to scientific research are all written with the words, burning money. Although Li Zan has so many properties, he can be regarded as a rich man, and this time he also made a lot of money in the Far East, but it feels like a bottomless pit of investment makes him a little scared. The second is that there are some precision instruments that you want to purchase, but there are no channels at all, because they don't sell innovations. Hey, that's it. If someone has money but doesn't make money, you can't even send money to the other party. If it weren't for the fact that he had collected a lot of cash in the Far East this time, not only money, but also talents, equipment, Lizon would not have started preparations for the Magic Research Institute project. To use the lyrics of a song, that is, I can't afford to be hurt, I really can't afford to be hurt. But now that the manpower is in place and some instruments are in place, those researchers cannot be allowed to wait without doing anything. As a qualified New Era boss, this kind of thing is absolutely not allowed. And it doesn't mean that you must have all kinds of equipment before you can start. Now you can also start to do some simple research to store data and experience. Lizon had already taken out some of the items harvested in the response room and left them in the lab, which was enough for their research. There is also the Horcrux of Slytherin's locket. Lizon has already released information on finding muggles in the wizarding world. Jin Gallon has opened the way, and now he is waiting for a response. After thinking for a while, he found that he had completed all the original plans before the New Year's Eve, and there was nothing missing. Lizon nodded in satisfaction. Compared to the snowy and white winter, spring is more comfortable when the flowers are blooming and warm. Another morning, Lizon got up and opened the window, looking at the flowers and plants that had been lurking for a winter after the ice and snow melted outside. More than 2 months have passed since the last New Year's Eve holiday, and it is now the end of February. These 2 months have been very peaceful. Lizon, who did not join Harry Potter, the Savior team, lived very peacefully. And our Savior team, Harry, Ron, and Neville are still trying to find out about Nicholas May's deeds, and Lizon didn't intervene in this. When it was time to let Harry know, Dumbledore would know, and tell Harry theirs through Hagrid's mouth. Lizon's life is going on step by step, attending classes, doing homework and reviewing after class, and practicing with Hermione and Penelope. As for the Forbidden Forest, he hasn't been there much recently, because he is staring at Hagrid. After all, he won't encounter any magical animals in the Forbidden Forest. As for why he was staring at Hagrid, because Lizon reckoned that it was almost the time when Hagrid got the Norwegian Ridgeback dragon egg from Quirrell. This time Lizon will not let Hagrid send this 440 fire dragon to the dragon breeding base in Romania, only his own small world is the best destination for it. Growing up in a small world since childhood, this Norwegian Ridgeback must have greater potential than Ottai in the future. The most important thing is that the Norwegian Ridgeback that Hagrid thought was a male at the beginning is actually a little female dragon. Everything pays attention to the balance of yin and yang. How about a magical animal with only one gender in the small world? When will the small world come? Only when you give birth to a baby and it gives birth to a baby, can the small world gradually prosper, and the future of the small world is in everyone's hands. Like the Kappa who is still single now, Lizon also placed an order at the Fantastic Beasts store, and asked the other party to contact Neon to see if he can give his old Kappa a red sleeve and end the decades of being single life. This kind of life without desires and needs is not in line with the development concept of the small world. Lizon must give it some motivation. However, there are no new magical animals, which does not mean that the number of old ones has not increased. In the past 2 months, Lizon has seen the appearance of the Black Lake several times, not enough. And there are not only giant squids, mermaids, and grindellos in the small Black Lake. In order to ensure the ecological balance of the Black Lake, let the enthusiastic self help to solve it. Bring some grindylows to the small world, lighten the burden on the Black Lake. Don't thank me too much, I am the successor of the new era, and it is my nature to be helpful. Today is the weekend, taking advantage of the clear weather and sunshine. Lizon and the others thought it might be a good choice to go out for a walk, and it would be even more perfect to have an outdoor barbecue. Hogwarts says it's big or small, but there are some places where you can't walk around. Going out in the green will naturally go to places you don't often go to. So, next to Hagrid's pumpkin vegetable garden, Lizon was eyeing him. How could this kind of thing be just Lizon, Hermione and Penelope, and of course there are others. For example, our good friend Weasley twins, who is a super detective at any time and any place, handles cases seriously. The Weasley twins are any time, any place, serious mischief, not doing business. There are also Penelope's roommate Martha, Neville and his good roommates Harry, Ron, and some other little wizards. So this group of dozens of wizards headed towards Hagrid's secret garden. Most of this group are young wizards in the first grade, and there are very few senior ones. Except for Penelope and Martha, the others are friends of George and Fred. Of course, Liaison is also very good at being a man. When going to other people's territory, of course, he has to pay homage to the dock and obtain the owner's consent. Of course, Hagrid would not refuse Liaison's request, and was even very happy to see this kind of thing. A little wizard is willing to get close to him, which means that he is gradually accepted by everyone. In fact, Hagrid has a wish hidden in his heart, that is to become the professor of magical animals at Hogwarts, but this is a very difficult time for him. After all, he was expelled because of Voldemort's frame in his 3rd year. And if you want to become a professor, you must learn to get along with little wizards. Because of the size, Hagrid has more contact with Harry and others, and other little wizards rarely communicate with Hagrid. Therefore, for this activity proposed by Liaison he is very welcoming. But what Hagrid didn't know was that it wouldn't be long before this dream could be realized in the next year. This was Dumbledore's reward for helping him all the time, or he couldn't find someone more suitable than him for the time being. After all, when Liaison's 2nd-year study career ended, the original professor of magizoology, Professor Sylvanus Kettleburn, was about to retire, and Hagrid happened to take over his position. Speaking of Professor Kettleburn, this is also a legendary figure in Hogwarts. After all, the record of 62 retention checks is unmatched. This one also really likes magical animals, but, how to put it, I can only say that this professor is really brave and reckless. Interestingly, there is even a game in the wizarding world to bet on whether Professor Kettleburn can retire alive. This is no longer a healthy retirement, because the current Professor Kettleburn is physically disabled. As for what happened, it can only be said that he must be brave. Don't look at the magical animals here in Liaison, they are obedient, and there is no danger at all. That's because Liaison has the bonus of the Beast Spirit Orb, and the compulsory recognition of the owner of the small world. Of course, for this team-building activity, Liaison naturally reported to his dean, and even invited his own dean Professor Flitwick, the next-door Professor McGonagall, the friendly Professor Sprout, and even Professor Snape. Of course, thanks to the top of the mountain, the most powerful Professor Dumbledore also asked Professor Flitwick to help invite him. It's just that none of these professors came, but I'm happy to see such a wave of team-building activities organized by Liaison. People didn't come, but things came. For example, Professor Flitwick sponsored candy, Dumbledore asked house elves to prepare some ingredients for Liaison, Professor Sprout gave some vegetables and fruits grown by himself, and Professor McGonagall sponsored several toys including wizard chess. You are such a Professor McGonagall. As for our Professor Snape, Liaison was even more surprised to become the beverage sponsor of this event. Liaison never expected that such a polite act of his would attract 5 sponsors for this team-building event. Now that they got sponsorship from the professors, and after communicating with Hagrid, Liaison later released the news that this event has been completely expanded to the entire Hogwarts. Anyone who wants to come will come. After all, the support given by the professors is so great, it seems that people like myself are not suitable. Anyway, Hagrid's side is big enough, even if all the little wizards can go there, but this is impossible. After all, not all the little wizards will come. As for how to manage so many people, how can Liaison manage it? Liaison doesn't need to connect one by one. As the boss of so many companies, how can he not know how to cultivate tool talents? Those who come from Gryffindor will look for George and Fred, those who come from Lowen-Kelluo will look for Martha and Penelope, and those who come from Hufflepuff will look for Cedric, the star of Hufflepuff and the future Goblet of Fire warrior. Because he and Hufflepuff always attend classes together, and the relationship between the two colleges is good, so Liaison naturally has a good relationship with Cedric. As for the Slytherins, if Slytherin comes, go to Malfoy, that's right, it's our Delacomal, Mr. Fu. To be honest, he was quite surprised that Delacour brought his 2 subordinates to Liaison, but after thinking about it, it might be because his godfather, Snape, supported Liaison's actions. There was also Harry Potter who fell in love with him and killed him, so it was no surprise that he came to make a good relationship with him. When Malfoy received this task, he was not at all unhappy about being arranged by others. On the contrary, there was a kind of joy that he didn't know where it came from. With the tools and people, the little wizards were quickly diverted after they came. This so-called group building is actually nothing more than liaison providing the venue, name and materials. The little wizards came here, went to the corresponding person in charge according to the college to receive various supplies, and then found a spare place to start working, or joined a familiar group. Usually, little wizards basically don't have such experience in grilling by themselves. There are parents busy at home and house elves in college. It's really attractive. Liaison also found out later that his group building activities also enhanced the communication between men and women, and there seemed to be many pairs. Don't be surprised, in such a large environment in the West, children are particularly precocious, and there is nothing strange about this situation. And liaison has no right to talk about others. Look at Hermione and Penelope who are busy around him, he is sitting like a grandpa, waiting to eat. Originally, liaison also planned to do it, but Hermione and the others thought it was always liaison who did the small things, so this time it was theirs. Well, they want to express themselves, how can liaison stop it, right? Seeing Hagrid cheerfully leading the little wizards to disaster, his own vegetable garden, liaison smiled. Perhaps this kind of happiness is what Hagrid has been longing for. Although liaison also used this event to increase his favorability with Hagrid, even if there were calculations and liaison's small thoughts in it, Hagrid is happy now. And liaison didn't want to do anything to Hagrid, he didn't want to kill him, he just wanted him to favor himself when choosing the fire dragon's home. And it wasn't just this time that liaison made a move. On weekdays, liaison often discusses the domestication of magical beasts with Hagrid and Professor Kettleburn. Liaison also properly demonstrated his strength, to be precise, his financial resources, at least proving that magical animals will not be hungry and full after following him. I am not greedy for the materials of all kinds of magical animals, pretending that I like magical animals, but slaughtering magical animals behind my back. In the past, Hagrid and Professor Kettleburn met many people like this, who pretended to like magical animals, but actually tried to obtain some rare magical animals through their two channels. In the beginning, Hagrid and Professor Kettleburn did get fooled several times, especially Hagrid, who was eager to be recognized by anyone. But after being cheated several times, especially after seeing the magical animals he sent out turned into various cold materials and circulated in the market, Hagrid was in pain. For this, he even asked Dumbledore to help, and make those greedy guys pay. Of course, Dumbledore would not refuse. With Dumbledore's status, he didn't even need to fight. As long as he spoke, the other party would be unable to get along in the British wizarding world. Since then, Hagrid has never done this kind of thing again, as to why he would be willing to give the dragon to Charlie Weasley in the future. Asking for flowers. The Weasleys have always been supporters of Dumbledore, and the Weasleys are members of the Order of the Phoenix. Hagrid believes in Dumbledore and the Weasleys, and he also knows them. At the same time, Charlie Weasley Hagrid has also been in contact with it, and knows that this little guy is indeed a person who loves magical animals, and he also has a lot of accomplishments in protecting magical animals. And just like what Harry said, Hogwarts is indeed not suitable for the growth of fire dragons, so let's leave it to local professionals. Looking at Harry and Ron over there, liaison felt that it was a pity that he went home at Christmas and did not get to see the Mirror of Arise. After all, this mirror allows people to see the most urgent and strongest desires in their hearts. Point 0. But later Dumbledore will also let the Mirror of Arise appear. As the last level of protecting the Philosopher's Stone, he hides the Philosopher's Stone in the mirror. Even a little trick is used, that is, only those who want to find it but don't use it can get the Philosopher's Stone. Otherwise, you can only see the scene of using the magic stone to turn a stone into gold, or drinking the elixir of life, and you will never get the magic stone. This is also the reason why Quirrell went earlier than Harry in the future, but he never got the Philosopher's Stone. Today's team-building activity was perfect, except that the house elves were not happy because they felt that their jobs were being robbed. Everyone was full after having a barbecue outside, so not many people came to the auditorium to eat at night. Knowing that he had finished washing at night, Liaison went into the small world to check it out, and brought Xiao Wu out to watch. Liaison went in mainly to care about the invisible beast. It has been a few months since I came to Liaison, and the belly of the invisible beast is getting bigger and bigger. The professional term is Shanwai. Now the magical animals in the small world are looking forward to the birth of this little invisible beast. During this time, the invisible beast has also used its own ability to completely convince the birds and snakes. Or maybe you have experienced a mother's love that you have never experienced before. Whether it is birds and snakes or little snuffers, they lack the existence of being as gentle and tolerant as invisible beasts. Although there is also liaison, but it is a completely different feeling, so liaison's big butler plan should be fine. Knock knock knock. In the middle of the night, Hagrid's hut suddenly heard a tight and dense knock on the door. Hagrid and liaison in the room looked at each other, and then Hagrid got up to open the door. As soon as the door opened, our savior stood outside with his roommates Ron and Neville looking at Hagrid. "Hey Harry, I'm sorry, don't blame me for being rude, I have something to do and I don't have time to play with you tonight." Hagrid's huge body blocked the doorway, making it impossible for Ron, who wanted to poke his head out of curiosity after hearing Hagrid's words, to see at all, and the next second Hagrid closed the door. Seeing Hagrid like this, liaison asked, "Harry?" Hagrid nodded, and when he was about to say something, Harry outside the door refused to give up and continued to shout, "We know the Philosopher's Stone." Hearing the 3 words, 443, Magic Stone, Hagrid was stunned for a moment, looked at liaison, and Hermione and Penelope beside him. That's right, liaison came out for a night tour tonight, and brought Hermione and Penelope. Hagrid had no choice but to open the door and let Harry Potter and the others in. "Snape wants to steal the Philosopher's Stone. Liaison." Harry, who had walked in and chattered with Hagrid, only found the 3 of liaison who were blocked by Hagrid after Hagrid turned around. In an instant, Harry Potter and Ron were embarrassed. They didn't realize that liaison was there, so they heard what they said about the Sorcerer's Stone and the arrangement of Snape just now. Seeing Harry's questioning look, liaison suppressed a smile and nodded vigorously, expressing that he and Hermione heard what he said just now, not only heard it, but also heard it clearly. For a moment, Harry sat on Hagrid's chair that could be used as a cot, feeling extremely tired. "Hurry up and destroy it." "Harry, don't forget that you asked us about Nicholas May, so we are clear about the Philosopher's Stone. As for your last sentence about Professor Snape, me and Hermione and the others can pretend they didn't hear." Quote. Liaison said with a smile. As for liaison, the 3 of them would appear here at Hagrid's place, naturally because Hagrid was taking out the 10 sounding eggs from the water with heat-resistant gloves. It's not the first time for liaison and the others to go out at night, and they will come out at night in the last few days. The reason is naturally because Hagrid got this Norwegian Ridgeback dragon egg. This dragon egg was naturally obtained by Hagrid from a stranger wearing a hood in a bar. To be precise, he won it from Voldemort. With this in mind, liaison felt that Hagrid could boast for the rest of his life. Just like how Fred and George dared to throw snowballs at Voldemort, this kind of thing is recommended to be criticized by the whole school. The purpose of this is of course to obtain the method of passing the 3-headed dog Luwei from Hagrid's mouth, and High Keep Secret Secretary Jay naturally told Quirrell the method. "So liaison, you already know about Nicholas and the Philosopher's Stone." Ron suddenly discovered the bright spot in liaison's words, and asked directly. "I found it by accident in the library some time ago. Who knows that you have been searching for stories about Nicholas May? It's been so long and I haven't seen you and you still come to ask. I thought you were just asking casually, or already found the answer." Naturally, liaison saw Ron's little thoughtfulness, and directly opened his mouth to block the rest of his words. "I know it's my business, and I have no obligation to tell you." And just like what liaison said, the previous question was just a simple question. "Who knows that you are still paying attention to me, and I have been following you since I have nothing to do." "Hagrid, what is this?" Seeing that Hagrid took out the black egg from the fire, and Ron over there blushed under the strange eyes of Hermione and Penelope, Harry quickly opened his mouth to change the subject. "I don't know why you are still suspicious of Snape, but Snape is one of the protectors of the Philosopher's Stone, and it is absolutely impossible for him to steal the Philosopher's Stone." Hagrid didn't answer Harry's question first, but opened his mouth to respond to the sentence Harry said as soon as he entered the door, but this sentence was caught by Hermione and Penelope beside liaison again. The 2 women looked at each other, combined with what liaison told them earlier, that is, the Philosopher's Stone that can make people live forever is indeed in Hogwarts. And Dumbledore also had people set up barriers to protect it. The purpose is to prevent some people from getting. Liaison also saw the eye contact between the two women, as well as Neville's thoughtful eyes over there, but his attention is not here now. He and Hagrid's attention is on the tabletop that keeps sending out. There was a sound, and cracks began to appear on the surface of the dragon eggs. This is a dragon egg. Hagrid, where did you get it? Dragon eggs don't circulate freely at all. Because his big brother Charlie worked in a Romanian dragon farm, Ron also learned a lot about dragons, including the appearance of dragon eggs. Yes, this is a dragon egg of a Norwegian ridgeback. As for how it came from, I won it from a stranger wearing a hood. For some reason, he seems to be eager to lose to me too. Boom. As soon as Hagrid finished speaking, the fire dragon eggs in front of him exploded. Yes, they exploded. It can only be said that it is a fire dragon, born in such a unique and violent way. It was also the first time for Liaison to see the fire dragon emerging from the egg. After all, Ottai was already an adult dragon when he got it, or an old dragon. Everyone ignored the eggshells splashing around, and all looked at the young Norwegian ridgeback dragon on the table, which was still smeared with mucus, and couldn't even stand upright. The newly hatched Norway ridgeback looked 5.1 inches like a crumpled black umbrella, with a particularly large head compared with its many spiked wings and thin black body. The Norwegian ridgeback also has a long, large nose with white nostrils, horned bumps on its head, and orange-red eyes protruding outward. It's very beautiful and handsome. Look at this little guy. He completely regards me as a mother. Ha ha, hi, noble. Hagrid looked at the young dragon staggering on the table. His heart almost melted, and he stretched out a palm almost as big as it and gently scratched its neck. Compared with other types of dragon cubs, the fire-breathing ability of Norwegian ridgeback cubs developed earlier. Don't ask how Liaison knew it, just look at Hagrid frantically patting his sparkling beard over there. It seems that this dragon is very disrespectful to Hagrid. Looks like the Norwegian ridgeback pup doesn't like you. Having been with Hagrid for a long time, it is necessary to be so cautious when talking to each other, so Liaison laughed. Maybe just born, you still need to train a little more. Don't believe me, try it. Hagrid said stubbornly. He felt that Liaison should be no different to someone who has been busy working on the hatching of the fire dragon by himself. Even Liaison's hound Mau Mau always sticks to his side, but this is not enough for the young dragon to treat him differently. Waiting for your words, Liaison stretched out his hand and hugged the newly born fire dragon in front of him, who was still very vigilant. The three of Harry watched Liaison's movements nervously, especially Ron, who knew that the fangs of the Norwegian ridgeback were poisonous. Here, Hermione and Penelope did the same, and even took out their wands. They were nervous about whether the young dragon would shoot out sparks and hurt Liaison. Hagrid on the side saw the movements of Hermione and Penelope, as well as the expressions of the two girls who looked like old mothers. In an instant, his expression changed to the old man of Metro 23 and his mobile phone. Really, there is no harm if there is no comparison. In front of me, I was burned to the beard by the fire dragon, so I could only slap the sparks pitifully, and a small piece of my satisfied beard was burned. Unfortunately, in Liaison's arms, the young dragon did not resist Hagrid as before. It can even be said that he is very close to Liaison, rubbing his small head in Liaison's arms, and then raised his small head to call Liaison non-stop. Seeing this scene, Hermione and Penelope, who were so nervous over there, almost made a move. Fortunately, Liaison sensed what the young dragon meant and stopped the two women's actions. Liaison took out a baby bottle and a pack of milk powder from the small world, asked Hermione to have a spring of clear water, and asked Penelope to have a small fire state. Clear water is like a spring. Fire. As Penelope and the others waved their wands, a ball of water appeared in the air and remained still. Here, Penelope cast a reduced version of the fire spell, and a small ball of fire appeared under the water polo to heat the water polo. After Liaison poured the milk powder into the bottle, the water temperature over there was okay, and then he cast the floating spell, and the water polo turned into a transparent stream of hot water and poured into the bottle. Cap it, shake it, and put it in the dragon's mouth. A set of movements was smooth and flowing, and Hagrid and the others beside them were stunned by the perfect coordination of Liaison and Hermione. Liaison, where did you get your milk powder and bottle? Hagrid also knew about the items that Lizon had cast the untraceable stretching curse, but it was a bit strange to store milk powder and feeding bottles in it. And hearing Hagrid's words, Harry Potter over there also looked at him with eyes of, "So you were such Lizon," but Hermione and Penelope were not surprised. All kinds of things in Lizon's storage space, there are all kinds of mess. According to him, almost a whole shopping mall has been brought in, not to mention baby milk powder, and once Lizon even brought out tissues specially for girls. The two girls were so ashamed, they chased and beat Lizon all morning, and they didn't stop until Lizon promised that he would never do this kind of thing to other girls. Well, the original point here. Don't forget about Hagrid, I'm also a magizoologist. Sometimes I encounter newborn magical animals in the wild without their parents to take care of them. At this time, I need to supplement nutrition. But Lizon naturally wouldn't say that to Hagrid and the others. Of course he wouldn't tell others about his own small world. Telling Hermione and them is a way of saying, they are relatively close, and Lizon also showed all kinds of things when getting along. What's more, Lizon didn't say that there is indeed a shopping mall in his own small world. No, it's not a problem to open 3 or 4 shopping malls. Hearing what Lizon said, the simple-minded Hagrid naturally believed it, not just because of Lizon's words, but also because Lizon's trust in Hagrid was not low on weekdays. Coupled with the performance of the young dragons tonight, it is natural to believe Lizon's words. The credibility of the wizard's words is difficult to determine, but the behavior of magical animals cannot lie. This is Hagrid's firm thinking all the time. By the way, Hagrid, you must have been mistaken tonight. This baby dragon can't be called Norbert. Lizon said with a smile. Hagrid over there looked puzzled. Why can't he be called Norbert? What a nice name. Your Norbert is obviously a boy's name, but this young Norwegian Ridgeback Charmander is a beautiful girl, so it might as well be named Norbetta. Quote exclamation mark quote. Hearing Lizon's words, the young dragon who was still crazily drinking milk also called out, as if agreeing with Lizon's statement. Hearing Lizon's words, Hagrid moved his head closer and looked at the young dragon carefully, but he didn't turn over the young dragon to check its gender. After all, such a move was very rude. Especially for a magical animal like a fire dragon, which is born with a lot of wisdom. If you do this by yourself, it will definitely make the other party furious. Don't think it's okay if you can't beat it now. The dragon is also a magical animal that holds vengeance very much. If you can't beat 443 now, it doesn't mean you won't be able to beat it in the future. It's indeed a female fire dragon. If that's the case, then it's called Nobeta as you said. Lizon didn't expect Hagrid to agree just like that, but it didn't seem strange. Who's there? At this moment, Hagrid suddenly spotted Malfoy, who had been looking in by the window, and was so frightened that Malfoy turned and left quickly. It's just that platinum blonde hair that was neatly combed has already betrayed him. It's Malfoy. The first to recognize him was naturally their true love, Harry Potter, and Hagrid's face was full of shock when he heard Harry's words. There is no problem with Lizon and Harry knowing about raising dragons, but if Delacoe finds out, especially Delacoe Malfoy, then there will be all kinds of troubles. Actually, even if Malfoy hadn't discovered it, Hagrid, your fire dragon will not last long. The young dragon grows very fast, and it will grow to 3 times the length when it was hatched in a week. In 1 month, your room will not be able to accommodate it at all. You have to think about the future of this fire dragon in advance. Hearing Lizon's words, Hagrid fell silent, and the joy of being hatched by the fire dragon diminished a lot in an instant. Hagrid always wished he had a dragon. That's what he said the first day I knew him. Just now Lizon also said that Hogwarts does not allow the domestication of dangerous magical animals like fire dragons at all. What's worse, Malfoy saw this matter. Harry and Ron left from Hagrid. It should be said that they left first, and Lizon and the others still had to discuss some matters with Hagrid. It's just that when Harry and the others were having a lively chat, Professor McGonagall, who came out from the front corner, made them stop and talk at the same time. This is just awful. Ron looked at Professor McGonagall approaching with a candle, and Delacoe Malfoy standing beside her, and couldn't help but complain. Good evening, gentlemen, Professor McGonagall said to the Harry Potter trio. His face was full of displeasure. No dean would be happy if he was called up at night when he was a senior, or was reported because of his own college's Little Wizard Night Tour. Professor McGonagall brought Harry Potter and Malfoy to the Transfiguration classroom, and said to the three of Harry with a serious face. I remember that the school rules about Hogwarts said that students are absolutely not allowed to wander around the college during the curfew time. Therefore, I will punish the four of you for your actions, and I will detain you 5,050 points, 50 cents each. Hearing Professor McGonagall's words, Harry and the others immediately exploded. According to Professor McGonagall's deduction, one person is 50 points, and there are 3 people here. Wouldn't it be 150 points? With Gryffindor's score, 150 points will be deducted, not to mention all deducted, at least it can be said that it has bottomed out. Wait until tomorrow morning. When the little wizards of Gryffindor see the few points in the Academy Cup hourglass, the 3 of us will definitely be torn to pieces by the angry little lions. In order to ensure that you don't commit any crimes in the future, all 4 of you have to be locked up. Hearing this, the face of Della, who was gloating at the side, changed instantly, and he stepped forward to ask Professor McGonagall, I'm sorry, Professor, maybe I got it wrong, you mean the 4 of us. You heard me right, Mr. Malfoy, although your intentions are good, you have also violated the school rules by walking around the academy at night without authorization, and you will be locked up together with your classmates. Hearing this, Harry and Neville laughed happily, but Ron beside him didn't because he felt it was unfair. He could already imagine his situation tomorrow. Originally, he was not as popular as his big brothers and Harry in Gryffindor. Once he was known by everyone, he would definitely not be able to gain a foothold in the accusations of the little wizards. So he decided to bring more people together to attract firepower, even if there is still one of his own academy inside. The hourglass of his own academy's scoring hourglass will definitely be empty if he deducts another 50 points, but at this time Ron can't care so much. And what's the difference between empty and almost empty? Anyway, with 150 points down, Gryffindor won't be able to compete with Slytherin for the first place in the Academy Cup this year. And Malfoy obviously saw that Hagrid's hut was not the only 3 of them, so why didn't he report the others as well? Professor McGonagall, I'm not convinced. Why only punish us? There are other little wizards who also go out at night, but Malfoy didn't report them. Hearing Ron's angry words, Professor McGonagall did not expect that there would be little wizards coming out for night tours. It seemed that there were quite a few chickens to be killed tonight. Mr. Malfoy, is Ron right? Della didn't expect that Ron would come to such a sudden encounter. He was a little confused. After all, such self-explosion would not do him any good. But Della quickly reacted, and said, I didn't see anyone else, I only saw Harry Potter and the 3 of them. If you don't believe me, you can ask them. This time Della was clever, and even blamed Harry Potter and the others, and the pressure also came to them. Sensing Professor McGonagall's scrutinizing eyes, Harry and Neville looked at each other. The 2 of them didn't speak, their mouths were tightly shut, and they didn't say anything. Because they are also in a difficult situation now. Ron is their roommate and a good friend, they get along day and night. But on the other hand, Liaison and the others are also my friends, and they usually help me a lot. Another point is that they never thought that Ron would report and betray Liaison and the others. That's right, in the eyes of Harry and the others, Ron's behavior is called betrayal. When Ron yelled that sentence just now, they couldn't believe it. Is this the Ron they usually know? And why do you want to do this? Although Liaison usually treats him as not good, but it is not bad, and there is absolutely no grudge between the 2 of them. Quote closing square bracket exclamation mark quote. Seeing Harry talking to Neville about loyalty, and Della over there also saying that he didn't notice, Ron felt that he was going to explode. It's fine if the enemy doesn't help you, why don't your brothers and partners help you? Ron couldn't figure it out at all, or he was filled with anger at this time, and he didn't think about whether his actions were correct at all. He only knows that the whole world is against him and has opinions on him. Professor, besides us, Hermione, Penelope and Liaison also went on a night tour. You believe me, because we are together. If you don't believe me, you are waiting for the miscellaneous in the corridor with us. By the way, call Filch together, isn't he very good at catching little night wizards? Seeing Ron yelling, at this moment, Harry and Neville only felt that he was very strange. Even Della K, who had always looked down on Ron, shrank his neck and remained silent at this time, because he felt that Ron was a little scary now. Looking at Ron in front of him, Professor McGonagall shook his head silently in his heart. Are you all right? As the Weasley family is a pure Gryffindor, Professor McGonagall not only knows the Weasleys, but also has a good relationship. The next generation of Weasley, from Charlie, Percy to George and Fred, are all students of Professor McGonagall, and they are all excellent, no matter Charlie who has graduated or Percy who has been promoted to senior. Even Gemini, who usually looks the most annoying and irritating to me, is actually very smart, and his emotional intelligence is online, so he can get along with everyone. And they have different ideas and creativity in magic props, just look at the prank props they usually make. But in Ron, Professor McGonagall has not seen any bright spots so far. He is self-pitying, unconfident, undisciplined and unmotivated. Now there is one more thing, jealousy. Jealousy is the original sin, and it can even lead people to the abyss. Professor McGonagall doesn't want Ron to go down this road. Liaison only found out about it when he came to the auditorium for breakfast the next morning, or Hermione and Penelope did it, because the three of them exercised together in the morning. The reason was naturally that the young wizards of Gryffindor discovered that all the scoring hourglasses in their academy had been emptied early in the morning. Then they wondered if there was something wrong with the scoring hourglass, and went to ask Professor McGonagall, only to learn that last night, our savior went out for a night tour with his two roommates. As a result, it was reported by Draco Malfoy of Slytherin, and 50 points were deducted from one person, including Draco Malfoy. When other people asked in disbelief the three Harrys who had been hiding in the dormitory and didn't dare to come out, Harry admitted to Neville, after all, he did something wrong, so he admitted it naturally. As a result, he was condemned by everyone, and even some little lions began to abuse him, especially some seniors. So Ron reported the three of us last night. Liaison, who was eating a sandwich, couldn't help being speechless when he heard Martha's words, and the fire even burned himself. He didn't expect Malfoy 443 to report Harry and the others last night, but he didn't report himself, after all, he was already prepared. But don't the professors and Dumbledore know about night tours? How could they not know? Even this can be said to be a fine tradition of Hogwarts, and they did this kind of thing when they were still students. But there is an unspoken rule about night tours, that is, as long as you are not caught on the spot, even if someone accuses you, it is useless. That's why Liaison didn't worry at all last night, but he didn't expect Ron to dare to do this. It can only be said that Ron's situation in the future is not going to be very good. This is the same as the student who always gave small reports to the teacher when he was in school, he will never be accepted by everyone. And what's even more ridiculous is that it wasn't Professor McGonagall or Malfoy who said Ron's snitching, but Ron took the initiative to tell others. Regarding this point, Liaison doesn't know what to say at all. You are afraid that you will not die fast enough and you will not die enough, right? But after thinking about it for a while, Liaison probably guessed what Ron wants to do. Isn't it just to make other people feel that Professor McGonagall is unfair, and Malfoy is doing too much? Why didn't he finish the report? Is it aimed at him or something, so as to gain some resonance and sympathy? After all, the relationship between Slytherin and Gryffindor has always been bad. In the first year, Slytherin was headed by Malfoy. I have to say, Ron is still a little clever, but this cleverness is used in the wrong place. Because after he said it, he didn't get everyone's sympathy at all and achieve the expected effect. On the contrary, people hated him even more. Originally, 150 points were deducted, and everyone had the same responsibility, but now, Ron at least attracted half of the firepower by himself. For 10 minutes, neither Harry nor Neville knew what to feel. On the contrary, Malfoy's treatment in Slytherin was completely opposite. Unlike Ron who shouted and scolded everyone in Gryffindor, Malfoy was simply a hero in the eyes of Slytherin students. Even if Slytherin deducted 50 points because of this, it doesn't matter, Gryffindor deducts more, that's enough. Later, Liaison even heard a more detailed version, that is, in order to prove that he did not lie, Liaison and the others did indeed come out for a night tour. They took Professor McGonagall and they waited in the corridor for a while, and asked Professor McGonagall to find Filch to come over together, but they didn't wait. At that time, Liaison and the others had already returned to their respective rooms. Hogwarts was so big, and there were more than one route back to the lounge. What did Ron think when he wanted to block Liaison? And Liaison is not as ostentatious as CDFB they are, wearing a spell of disillusionment, won't he hide away when he sees it? Even in the end Ron proposed to check Lizon's dormitory. They are definitely not in the dormitory, so that he can prove that he is not lying. But this idea was directly cut down by Professor McGonagall. There has never been such a precedent. If this was done because of other people's framing and suspicion, and this precedent was set, wouldn't the whole college be in chaos later? At that time, regardless of whether it is true or false, you will report people you don't like or hate. Should the professor do it or not? Coupled with Ron's narrow-minded behavior, Professor McGonagall didn't like it at all, and he didn't have the brave responsibility and pattern that belonged to Gryffindor. So she was even angrier. Ron was deducted 20 points later, so Gryffindor was directly deducted 170 points last night. In this regard, Lizon can only say that Ron is self-inflicted. Although he will not make trouble, he will not be generous enough to sympathize with him. Everyone must be responsible for their words and deeds. Just like Ron in Gryffindor is almost a scene where everyone screams and beats up the street, Della is treated like a hero in Slytherin. And now Slytherin's hero, Delac, is also sitting on the long table in Slytherin, receiving compliments from other little wizards. Of course, he also saw Lizon, who was listening to others talking about what happened last night at the long table of Lwen K. Lau. Looking at Lizon, he felt a little complicated. The reason why Lizon was not reported last night was not because Lizon's dragon power on the Hogwarts Express has been intimidating until now, nor was it because Lizon was so powerful that Della did not dare to report for fear of retaliation. It was because of the small thoughts in Della's heart. That night, he saw how close the young dragon was to Lizon from the window that night, and Lizon spoke the information about the fire dragon clearly and logically. In connection with the start of school, Lizon was able to simulate the power of a fire dragon, so he must have observed it closely, and knew very well that fire dragons can do this with the help of magic. That's right, Della has always believed that Lizon's dragon power is a kind of magic, but he doesn't understand it, especially after the sorting ceremony. After Lizon was assigned to the knowledgeable Ravenclaw, he believed even more point. Although I don't know why the Muggle-born Lizon is more knowledgeable than the little wizard of the pure-blood family, but this does not affect Della's slight admiration for Lizon. No way, Lizon has good academic performance, is smart, strong, popular, has friends everywhere, is handsome and popular with girls, and teachers also value him. Among the student groups, he is a well-deserved strong man. In the atmosphere of Slytherin where the strong are respected, not to mention the Della branch, there are still many young wizards who also worship Lizon, but they don't say it clearly. As for Delacour's little idea, it is that he really wants to own a dragon. Not only because there is a dragon in his name, but he also likes it very much. He can even be said to be a fanatic fan. I still remember that when he first started school, he said that he would like to own a fire dragon, but unfortunately his father Lucius Malfoy didn't allow it, and there was no fire dragon for sale. He called his attention here last night after seeing a dragon emerging from its shell at Hagrid's hut. Lizon has such a good relationship with Hagrid. If he has a good relationship with him, then let him help to tell Hagrid that he wants to adopt a fire dragon. The effect will naturally be better than telling Hagrid that he wants to come. After all, Hogwarts naturally does not allow the domestication of such dangerous magical animals as fire dragons, and fire dragons will definitely be sent away by then. In this case, it is better to send it to the Malfoy family than to send it to the dragon farm, so that the Malfoy family can also open a dragon farm themselves. This is the first fire dragon of the Malfoy family, and it is also their first fire dragon. Della didn't think that Lizon also had his eye on this fire dragon. After all, he didn't know that Lizon had a gold finger like a small world. As Lizon was born as a Muggle, it is absolutely impossible to support a fire dragon. It's just that Hogwarts is Dumbledore's world. Although the Malfoy family is also one of the school trustees, Della is still clear about how much he owns. He decided to give his mother rights. With his mother's love for him, his father will definitely help him. Although Della is still young, he knows the status of his mother. Unless it is a matter of life and death or a major event, as long as the mother speaks, the father will listen to the mother's opinion. Lizon, who was eating breakfast, didn't expect that he was being targeted by Della, and even wanted him to be Hagrid's lobbyist. He even thought that he knew a lot about fire dragons. Why don't you wait for him to graduate and spend money gallant to invite him to raise dragons? If he knew, he might ask Tai to give him a mouthful of dragon's breath. Brother Li Zan. Li Zan is communicating with Neville and Harry. As for Ron, he doesn't dare to come out now, and hides in the dormitory. Most of the little wizards criticize him, which makes him feel the power of the masses for the first time. What is the fear of words? Perhaps in some people's opinion, not only should Li Zan not add insult to injury at this time, but he should take the initiative to speak up for Ron, at least to show that he does not blame him. After all, this kind of public opinion violence is too cruel for Ron, who is only 11 years old. Many adults in previous lives could not bear the violence on the internet, and finally they were overwhelmed and ended their own lives. From the perspective of humanistic care, Li Zan should indeed speak for Ron. But Li Zan is not a temperless person. Others have framed him and slapped him in the face. If he doesn't make trouble, it's good to step on his feet more. How much do you want me to speak for him? I can only use Prime Minister Cao's words. Impossible, absolutely impossible. In fact, if Ron came to Li Zan to apologize now, since he confessed his mistake and as the younger brother of the Weasley twins, Li Zan might even help out with a few words, but now he will only hide in the dormitory and act like an ostrich, so that's fine. There is a way. Take responsibility for your own mistakes. Li Zan has things to do now. Obviously there are 2 herbal medicine classes this morning, but Li Zan has asked for leave for the 2nd class. As for the reason, seeing him enter the small world in a hurry, it must be something happened in the small world. Come on, Yin. In Li Zan's villa, Li Zan is cheering for the invisible beast. In fact, Li Zan is also very nervous and a little bit at a loss. It is the first time to do the work of midwifery, even though he has read some books about the midwifery of magical animals, but theory is theory after all, not practice. That's right. The reason why Li Zan was so anxious was that the invisible beast was about to give birth. Not only Li Zan, but other magical animals were also guarding outside the villa. Especially the birds and snakes, they are more nervous. When the little invisible beast is born, they will no longer be the youngest in the small world, and will have younger brothers or younger sisters. Especially Xiao Wu. The other birds and snakes are fine, but as the youngest Xiao Wu. After they waited anxiously for more than 10 minutes, Li Zan finally opened the door, but this was the first time. All the attention of the magical animals was not on Li Zan, but on the little one in his arms, Dumpling. Even if he was just born, the hair on his body has not yet grown, but those big black eyes, looking at people, seem to be able to see the vast universe from these extremely pure eyes, which cleanses the soul in an instant. As expected of a cub born in a small world, it is luckier than birds and snakes, and even more blessed. Everyone gathered around Li Zan and looked at the little invisible beast in his arms. Even the old straight man Tai was no exception. Cluck cluck. Surrounded by so many huge monsters, the little invisible beast didn't cry out of fear, and even laughed happily. This cute appearance, as well as that silver bell-like laughter, made the corners of everyone's mouths crazily rise. Who can refuse such a cutie? Its little hands and feet are even scratching and kicking along with its laughter. By the way, this little invisible beast is a younger sister. Therefore, today, the little invisible beast is destined to be the favorite of the group and the focus of all magical animals. Even the matter of making milk powder into a little invisible beast was snatched by the taciturn female Pang Lok. That's right, the 2 Pang Loks that Li Zan brought into the small world are a couple. Looking at the well-behaved little invisible beast in Pang Lok's arms and the smile on the face of the female Pang Lok, Li Zan couldn't help joking. You 2 also work hard, try to give birth to a younger brother or younger sister for the little invisible beast as soon as possible. And Grindylow, you too. The female Pang Lok over there put her mind and body on the little invisible beast, ignoring Li Zan's words, while the male Pang Lok rubbed his hoof on his face in embarrassment. The Grindylows were not at all embarrassed, but nodded. Seeing the scene in front of him, the Kappa over there looked a little envious, and Li Zan also noticed that it seemed that it was time to add partners to the Kappa, otherwise there would always be a Kappa with him. After all, she was not of the same race as himself. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.